There we go. Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Aquilon here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button and click the link in the description down below, because why wouldn't you want to watch this live instead? We have load shedding again coming up later today, so it's not like we're going to have hours and hours of streams, but we'll try and make the best of what we've got. Probably going to do some Reddit reactions. I don't know if we'll have time to play mini games. Maybe like 1 or 2 ARAMs we'll start with. And then, yeah, straight into some reactions and stuff. Yeah, it's rough when you only have like 4 hours a day to actually get some streaming done. Because, yeah. Lunari, how you doing? Good morning to you. Good morning. I have my coffee. I'm tired. Today's gym was rough. Proper fucking tiring. We did legs today. So, yeah, I'm still recovering from that. Luckily, there's no YouTube maintenance because I did that before we went live. That's why we're a bit late. Because I thought, let me first edit the video, do the thumbnail, and then, you know, let's go live and at least be able to hang out a bit. The Lord Zero, how you doing, fam? Yeah, boys. Oh, yeah, same. On the way to uni, and I'm still on winter break mentality. Shit. Just don't go to class, bro. That's what I used to do. Every morning when I woke up, it would be a struggle. It would be like, am I going to go to class, or am I just going to stay home and play video games? Usually I stayed home and played video games. It wasn't until, like, yeah, usually just before exams is when I would start taking it a little bit more serious and actually get some work done. So tempting just not to go. I didn't go at all. So there was this rule, right? In at least when I was at uni, you had your normal holidays, you know, like you will always have. Grimfield, how you doing, fam? And then you weren't allowed to miss more than 21 days a year as like sick leave. So if you were to get sick, you're just not allowed to like miss more than 21 days out of the year. I viewed that as break time. I made sure every year that I hit exactly 21 days not at college. And when finally I got asked by one of the lecturers, listen here, you do know that you have like 17 days already that you haven't been here? I'm like, yeah, I have 4 more days left. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, bro, I have 21 days legally mandated to me that I'm allowed not to be here. I'm not going to be here on those 21 days. He's like, that's not how it works. We just do that for in case you get sick. I'm like, yeah, but I'm paying for those 21 days. I'm fucking taking them. Like, I might not be sick, but I'm still not, like, what the fuck? Just because I'm healthy, I don't get 21 days off? No, fam. I will take my 21 days. So I would just sometimes not go to college because fuck it, right? I have 21 days, I'm going to take them. God, how you doing, fam? I just watched your reaction on the Tau, and I was really disappointed because I would have had so much to say as I'm a massive Tau fan. You're not alone, Lord Zero. We've got a couple of Tau fans in the channel. We'll fix you guys, don't worry. It's fine for now, but we will fix you. Tauza, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. At least I'm in the middle of Vienna, old part of the city and all that cool shit. And today I got cool classes, so that's my motivation. Nice, yeah. There was usually the only class that I really didn't want to miss was singing. So I really enjoyed singing, and theater studies. Theater studies were pretty cool because the lecturer that presented the topic, he spent the first 10 years of his life being a flight attendant just so that he could travel the world and go to like every single theater out there. Like he walked the road to Troy, and he went to archaeological dig sites, really fucking spent so much time trying to figure out, how does theater happen? How did it happen? What's the history of theater? Going to like old churches in Europe where they banned theater and arts and stuff, figuring out how that happened. So he would always have the coolest pictures and stories about like just theater in general. So that was awesome, always to go. So I never missed his class. But like movement sucked dick. Voice too. So movement and voice, I was using like, nah, fuck it, I'm not going there. Because movement's sort of like abstract theater, but not abstract theater. It's like movement theater, right? It's where you put on a play, but there's no words. It's all just body movement and shit. And I fucking hated that. I didn't see that as acting. Even though the lecturer was like, oh my god, this is the highest form of acting. I'm like, nah, fam. This is just jumping around. That's not acting. You're not actually a character. You're just moving around. It's acting for people that have no talent to act. So, yeah, I never liked that class at all. 21 days, I think I would as well. So, in general, in South Africa, when you do have a job, you have legally mandated 21 days of what do you call it in English? When you don't have to go to work for 21 days. Like you have just, it's not a break, because break is university and school. But it's like kind of a break. It's like 21 vacation days, right? So you can go on holiday for 21 days every year, 3 weeks. And that's legally mandated. Every single worker has to take 21 days leave. And they just did the same thing for college. And I was just like, yeah, all right, fam. I'm taking 21 days leave. New patron milestone, top pop hits covered by Akko. Doubt it. Happy birthday. Was working yesterday, so couldn't swing by. Born smart, thank you very much. Did really appreciate that. 1 day late, but you know, still within the reasonable bounds of being able to say happy birthday. So I really appreciate that. Just so your reaction to Tao, hilarious, not gonna lie. Dude, is it up? I didn't even know it was up. Fuck, alright. I genuinely didn't know that it was up. Let's quickly check. I wonder when Minoir uploaded it. I'm assuming he fixed his PC, which is good. Oh shit. It's actually doing not bad. Well done, bro. Fucking well done. There's a video that's been popping off, and I'm not sure why. This one here. My South African video? Like, that shit's been popping off, bro. Just over the last few fucking days. It's gotten, like, thousands of views. Seems like South Africans really want people to shit on South Africa. I like it, because I will shit on South Africa all day long. Hudson Drow, how you doing, fam? Oh, that's nice, actually. The Tao video isn't doing too badly as well. When did he upload it? When was it uploaded? Today? Yesterday? Oh, that's not bad. That's not horrible. Borisal, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I gotta warn you guys already. I'm not in the greatest of moods. Did not sleep well. Had a grueling day at the gym. And my power's going out for a fuck long time today. So I'm already hating this day with everything in me. I really just, I really need that inverter and battery, dude. I can't keep doing this. This is just zero fun. Like, seriously. Alright, so we have this video that oh, thank fuck. The checks have been complete. Everything's working the way that it's supposed to. I haven't turned on monetization yet, but I will. Just quickly get this done. Videos, video thumbnails, Accolon, go. Then, no, yeah. Alright, we'll be done with this in a minute. Usually I edit these on stream too, so be thankful I didn't do that today. On how many ads? How many ads, chat? In a video of almost 2 hours, how many ads do you think is a reasonable amount of ads? 50, 60, 70? Like if you had to guess, like if throw out a number. 50. Jesus. I think so, right? I'll be rich. Although no one will watch, so people will be super upset about that many fucking ads. Nah, usually you just want to get like 3 ads within the first 10 minutes. If you can land 3 ads in the first 10 minutes, it's sort of alright. Because from there, it's not as important as like time goes on to get ads. Let's do 1 year. So we have one on the 20-minute mark, 40-minute mark. And then I think we're going to go to like the hour and 20-minute mark. Give it a nice break so people can actually get to watch that. And then we'll do 1 year at the end. Not that this ever really turns into an ad. Very few people watch long videos like this long. Seems fair. I never do... So Bonesmart, I always do the first. So in order to... You need to understand how this works, right? So this is not the amount of ads that YouTube will show in a single video to a single viewer. So usually with videos like this, YouTube might show one viewer 2 ads. Mostly 1. So every viewer will just get 1 ad. Now the way this works and the reason you put these sort of breaks there is just to tell YouTube, this is where, if you're going to play ads, this is where I want the ads to go. Right? So whenever I edit my videos, the first 10 minutes, I leave sort of spaces open, so quiet spaces open where ads can go, so you don't get interrupted in the middle of a word, in the middle of a sentence, so it's sort of, you know, so that you can put those ads there and then force YouTube, this and this alone is where ads go. Because otherwise, if you trust YouTube to do it, they just put it wherever the fuck, right? And you do get it to the, where if you leave it to YouTube, they'll put all of these ads that I've just shown there in the first 20 minutes. Because according to YouTube's algorithm, everyone's going to watch the first 20 minutes. Not very many people is going to watch past the first 20 minutes. And if you get that one unlucky fuck that gets every single ad, they're going to watch, what, 9 ads in the first 20 minutes? So you put the first 3 there, and then you sort of, the only reason you put the rest here is hopefully the algorithm decides, nah, never mind, I'm not going to give this guy one of these slots, I'll give him one of the later slots. And that sort of removes the possibility of someone getting 3 ads in the first 10 minutes. I caught this from a much bigger YouTuber. They've done this. And according to them, this is like the best method for it. Place the ads where there is a natural cliffhanger, right? I mean, in a perfect world, if you scripted your videos, that's technically what you would want to do, right? So you would want your ads to, Mental Fan from Al, how you doing, bro? You would want the ads to be literally after something that people really want to know about. So you just put something in there, you dropped a bomb, like a cliffhanger, and then someone will watch the ad because they want to see what's after. They're not going to click off. But that's when you're scripting, and if you really fine-tune for ads, which I don't do, I'm not going to fine-tune for ads. I don't care all that much. As long as, you know, the videos make a decent amount of money, I'm pretty fine. I'm more interested in just making decent content. You know, if I do something, I want people to enjoy what I do. Ad play shows what happened. Or in, you know, in proper YouTube fashion, you say, oh my god, and then this happened, and then when the video comes back, you don't explain what happened. You keep just telling people stuff, and then you do it again, right? Where you go, oh my god, and you guys will not believe what happened next, ad. And then it comes back. But before we can get to what happens next, you have to understand, right? This and this and this and this and this. And you just keep fucking stringing people along. I watched a video like this not long ago where it was like shocking facts, shocking secrets revealed or some shit like that. And I was on a particular bend of like wanting secrets revealed. The guy spent 10 minutes. So the video was like 11 minutes something. For the first 10 minutes, he went, So this happened, you guys will not believe it, but before we can get to that, you have to understand this. The guy just kept stringing me along, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna watch till the end, but I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a massive fucking letdown. And then in the end, it is a massive letdown. Like, it amounted to nothing. All of the things that he sort of put in that video, he didn't provide any evidence for it. It didn't really lead to anything crazy. It was just like, yeah, all right. So, yeah, great. I just watched 10 minutes of a fucking video that clickbaited the shit out of me. So, you know, it happens. It sucks. But, you know, everyone has their ways of doing things, I suppose. Avedon, how you doing, fam? I don't know if that's good for long-term shit, but then again, there's so many channels that just clickbait like nuts, bro. I don't know if you guys have seen the amount of channels that keep going 30 days. China has 30 days left. Everyone will be wiped out now. Like, every single one of these videos. It's nuts, dude. It's absolutely crazy. And it is clickbait. It's solid clickbait. And I'm just not sure why people aren't... Like, why are people watching it still? The guy has like 500,000 subscribers, and I don't understand why people continue to, you know, watch videos like that. CCS, how you doing, fam? Is there anything to watch? What do we have to watch on my homepage before we go check out what Reddit does? Oh shit! Let's hear what Mr. Beast has to say.
Let me ask you the ridiculous question, since you went from
Minoir, you motherfucker. 5 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate that, fam. And also the editor of the DJ Nation. Appreciate that, man. Had that once with an article. It split the article up into different pages, and I just wanted to get to the conclusion. But after about 33 pages of practically the same information but worded differently, I got completely fed up and stopped. Metal fan, there's so many articles like that out there, where, yeah, they'll explain to you. Say, for example, they'll talk about a river, right? And the water in this river is slowing down, and this can lead to this, and then next page they go, the water has not increased in volume or speed for the last 2 years. And as a result of this, you know, bad things will happen. We'll get to what the bad things are in a minute. But before we get there, you have to understand where this river comes from. And then they explain the fucking history of the river. And just after like an hour of reading, and like, bro, what the fuck? I don't even think this river exists. Like, maybe this is just bullshit, because we're not getting to the fucking point here. This is just like, especially any website now. So this is a new rule that I have in my life. If I go on a website and I want to read an article, and the article is spread over multiple pages, I immediately click off the article, because I figure out why they want to do that, right? The reason it's multiple pages is every single time you click to the next page, it offers you new ads, right? So they basically get, in a single article, they get to present you with multiple ad views that otherwise you wouldn't get, because, you know, unless they have a moving banner, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be on one page, you're going to read the article, and it's going to be done. Whereas if they can get you on multiple pages, they can basically turn a single viewer that would give them maybe 5 ad views for five different ads, they can turn you into 50 ad views for like 15 different ads, right? So this is usually how they do things. And reminder, the video I recommended yesterday, you said you might react to it if you had time. Yeah, we will watch that. I just want to hear what Mr. Beast has to say about happiness.
being broke to being rich, although you keep spending all your money. But does money buy happiness? How has money changed sort of your contentment, your happiness in life?
Does money buy happiness? No, not. I mean, to a point, yes. Once you can take care of your health, you can take care of like any immediate dangers, and you can take care of your family relatively. No, it doesn't. Like, but those things do. Like, when I first came into money, one of the first things I did was retire my mom, and like that brought me tons of happiness. You know what I mean? And like, you know, if my brother had a medical emergency and and we couldn't afford it, and I made money to afford it, that'd bring tons of happiness. So once you take care of those basic necessities, so we'll say make over hypothetically $1 million. No, it really doesn't. Like adding an extra zero, going from 10 million to 100 million or whatever it is, makes no difference.
So
I do think, like, Mr. Beast is correct here, right? The thing is, eventually money just becomes a scoring card. So for people like Bill Gates or Elon Musk, do you think he ever really opens his bank account to check how much money is in there? Probably not, right? He barely ever thinks about it. The only reason that's important to him is to keep score. Like, how good am I versus everyone else and shit like that. I will say though, and I'm glad Mr. Beast didn't say this. I'm glad he didn't start with that. No, it doesn't buy happiness, and that's the end of it, right? True happiness comes from inside and bullshit like that. Because in my opinion, that is the most that is something that rich people tell poor people in order to keep them poor. Like genuinely, because I mean, it is not great not to have money, because if you are poor, and I oftentimes think that the question is phrased incorrectly, because the question shouldn't be, does money buy happiness? The question should be, does poverty make you miserable? And the answer there becomes a lot more clear a lot quicker, right? If your entire life is worrying about money, worrying about where your food is coming from, worrying about how you're going to pay for your house or your car, or worrying about keeping your job, because all of these things are worries that poor people tend to have. Am I going to have a job tomorrow? What if the company that I'm working for goes bankrupt? What the fuck do I do then? Can I afford to take my kids to lunch, or are we just going to get sandwiches or whatever the case may be? Those things add stress. They don't necessarily make you unhappy, because I will say some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life have been people that are or tend to be poorer. They tend to see a lot more of the joys in life than what a lot of rich people see. Like, rich people tend to miss those small joys in life that would otherwise be very, very sort of obvious to people, whereas poor people have to view those, or have to be sensitive to those good moments, because that's kind of all they have. But stress erodes those good moments, and not having money is a huge source of stress. Now, I mean, this is actually perfect, because this plays into a conversation that I've been having over on Twitter. And okay, this has been a long discussion, to be clear. It's been a crazy discussion, and the sad part of it is the level to which people are dishonest in these types of conversations is very frustrating. But it has to do with this in a roundabout sort of way. So this food professor guy, who the fuck this is, you think it is appropriate to shoplift while grocery shopping just because you think food prices are too high? Crazy. Now, I want to be clear here. At no point in his original tweet does he state that this is due to poverty or anything. Now, he does kind of change the original tweet here, so he's kind of committing some straw man fallacy, because, the original tweet says, call me crazy, Anne, but if you're too poor to afford food and the government doesn't give you any options, taking food from a corporate grocery chain to survive doesn't sound like theft to me. I want to be clear. It is theft. It is, straight up. You are stealing. It doesn't matter who you're stealing from. You could be stealing from the queen herself. If you take something that does not belong to you, belongs to someone else, that is what we call stealing. Now, is there a moral case to be made that if you're hungry and you're starving, that you should be allowed to at least feed yourself? Yeah. And there was a case years ago where this exactly happened. The guy was caught stealing bread, and the judge forgave him. The judge literally said, dude, it's a bread. Fucking calm down, right? The guy didn't eat, so, But Taliesin goes, yes, right? Just wholesale buys into it. So I immediately respond and I go, interesting. Could we apply this to computers, maybe games? What about your house or your car? I mean, what is the principle by which we determine which stuff can and can't I take? Okay, now, on the face of it, you might be saying, whoa, Aklon, we're just talking about food here. Those other things are luxuries. I'm trying to get to the principle. This is why I pushed back on Taliesin's original tweet. I want to know what the principle is, because the principle here, okay, as far as I can tell, the principle that it should be, is if you are starving, right, so you don't have food, then helping yourself to something that will allow you to survive is allowed. You know, we don't want you to do that, technically speaking. And if there are any other options available to you, we would prefer you to sort of go with the other options. And I needless to say, in almost every modern city and town in the world today, you will find food banks, you will find homeless shelters. So really, the argument that, well, I had to steal in order to feed myself is a bit of a moot point, unless, of course, your government is bankrupt and there are no food banks and you would literally starve. I find the whole notion of you're too poor to afford food, so you can steal. You see, because the question becomes, well, what kind of food are you allowed to steal? Should it be basic necessities, or can you steal caviar? Right? Is this based on personal preference? Like, where do we draw the line? What are we allowed to steal? Who's allowed to steal? Right? So I'm trying to get to the principle of it's private property, and private property should at least be respected as far as humanly possible. Because once you allow for people to just steal, it becomes a slippery slope. Because maybe, yes, in the beginning, it will just be people stealing bare necessities. But do you honestly think that that's where it will stay? Because, like Cecius just said here, right? During SA's food riots, we see people stealing luxuries. So everyone said that people were stealing food. But when you look at the video footage, people were rioting and walking out with TVs and fucking cooking appliances and luxury goods. People weren't stealing food. They were stealing luxury shit. So how long before you start seeing people walking out of a Walmart with TVs and crap? Because I can help myself to this because I can't afford it. So from a principled perspective, I needed to get to, where are the boundaries? Are we drawing any, or are we just sort of going with it? Of course, I knew that Taliesin was not going to understand the concept. So I think the difference between food, which you die if you go without for a few days, and a car should be obvious. But for the record, yes, I also think people should be given homes if they can't afford one. And yes, it is okay to steal games from big corporations. Do you guys agree with that second part of what he just said there? Hey, just throw out an answer, like whatever you think. DD, Pirate Bay? Yeah, true. But, I mean, what if all of us said, well, we'll steal games from big corporations? So what if every single person in the world decided tomorrow to start downloading their games illegally instead of purchasing them? What happens to the gaming industry? It collapses. Why the fuck is anyone going to make a video game when they're not making money, right? If no one's buying the video games, they go out of business. All of your favorite games die immediately. Whether it be a big corporation, a small corporation, and it doesn't matter that Taliesin said it's okay to steal games from big corporations, because again, it becomes a slippery slope. Because maybe it starts with people stealing from Blizzard and from Ubisoft and from EA. But how long before people go, it's kind of normal to just download all my games off of Pirate Bay, So I'm just going to do that, right? And Pirate Bay becomes the new Steam. Everyone just heads over to Pirate Bay and downloads whatever game they want. Soon, indie companies are going bankrupt because hardly anyone's buying their games. It all comes down to, what do we view as normal? You know, is when you normalize the ability for people to steal shit, they usually start stealing more than just what you normalized. That's just the nature of things. All right. Now, this is where I sort of start to deviate into the argument quite a bit, right? So I tweet back. I say, sure, give poor people a roof over their heads. It sounds good. Makes one feel good. Sadly, every statistic we have shows that giving the poor stuff literally creates slavery to the state. I'm very much in favor of helping the poor. I just don't think we currently are. Now, based on pure statistics worldwide, not a single government in the world except for Singapore has been able to eliminate poverty. Even though every single Western government has this quote-unquote war on poverty. In America, they have the war on poverty, where they have massive social programs to try and help the poor, from food stamps to checks in the mail to housing and all the rest of it. Specifically, if you look at the 2 states in America that have the most progressive social safety net programs, they also happen to be the 2 states with the highest number of poor people and also the highest number of unemployed and homeless people by capita, but then also by growth. In both California and New York, it is becoming a serious problem now, with more and more people literally every single year being added to the homeless and the poor status. This just puts more and more pressure on the government, which then means they have to increase taxes because they have to pay for all of these poor people, which then pushes more and more people into poverty. So the idea that we should give people a roof over their heads sounds good. It makes us feel good. But by every metric, when we give poor people stuff, it does not lead to poor people flourishing. We don't see that. When we give poor people a check every month, we don't see poor people coming out of poverty. We see poor people getting a check. We see poor people spending that check on alcohol and drugs and well, food to some extent, right? But they keep being poor. This is why worldwide you have generational poverty. Even in countries like Europe, you have generational poverty where, you know, the mother relied on the state, the child relies on the state, the child's children will rely on the state. The state will pay for everything, and this is why I called it slavery to the state. And there's a reason for it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give the poor stuff. The way in which we do it is wrong, but we'll get to what my solutions for this would be in a second. For now, we're just talking about what I actually had to say. Now, Taliesin retorts with, no, that's not true, Akko. All right, so he's going to make a point now that directly refutes my point, right? Because he said that's not true. The stats show that giving homeless people homes is cheaper than leaving them homeless. It's not an argument I made, but never mind. We'll just gloss over that. I never said that it's more expensive to keep them homeless. I never even said that we should keep them homeless. This right here, I'm very much in favor of helping the poor. I just don't think we currently are. Suggests that I don't want to keep them homeless, right? So this right here is kind of congenitally a straw man, right? Because it doesn't actually speak to any point that I made, although it wants me to defend that point now, because he sort of ipso facto, in a roundabout way, said that I said we should keep the poor poor and homeless homeless. The stats show that free education is better for the economy, that good public transport is vital for a functioning job market, etc. Also, you should steal games. The stats that he's referring to here, just to be clear, comes from Europe. It comes from European countries. European countries with very small populations, mostly homogenous. So, you know, everyone in Norway is Norwegian, right? Everyone in Sweden is Swedish until very recently with, immigrants. They're now dealing with new problems. But those stats very much show European countries where things are functioning. Also, European countries where the majority of their economies are based on incredibly advanced metrics. In other words, if you live in Sweden and you do not have a college education, finding a job will be nigh impossible. This, by the way, is also why things like a minimum wage works in countries like Europe. You want to know why? Because there are almost no one in Europe that actually works for the minimum wage. The vast majority of Europeans are things like programmers, things like doctors or nurses or, computer engineers or engineers. These are people that, even at entry level, they're never going to work for minimum wage. So the only companies that really require people that work for minimum wage are companies that work with students, right? So a restaurant that requires servers or a barista at Starbucks. And those are quite literally the smallest number of employed people in countries like Sweden, like Norway, because those economies have advanced to the point where they don't need manual labor. They don't really rely on manual labor. What they rely on is incredibly specialized labor. And those people are never going to work for a minimum wage. So these companies can get away with paying that. If you start putting that onto America, again, you see most of the states that have minimum wage, they have their own issues of unemployment, the struggles to find employment, things getting incredibly expensive, and a lot of restaurants actually automating, because this is just the nature of the beast. It sounds good on paper. Let's give everyone a living wage. Let's pay everyone $15 an hour. But let's put this into practical, into a practical effect. Okay? Let's just look at this practically. You have a restaurant. Okay, you just opened a restaurant. Just opened. You require a cook, right? Someone that can actually make the food. You require a sort of hostess or a host, someone that can get receive the people and put them at a table. You require a server, someone that can actually take the food to the tables. And if it's a bigger restaurant, you're going to need more people, right? More servers and probably more chefs. But let's say you have one chef, you have one server, one host, and you work the till, as well as make sure that all the stuff is ordered and, and maybe you have a cleaner. So you have a restaurant with 4 people. That's great, right? The restaurant doesn't make a shit ton of money, and you can technically afford to hire 4 people at about $7.50 to maybe $10 an hour. That's about as much as you can afford to pay those 4 people, because you haven't made money yet. You still don't have a lot of people working for you. So this is about as much as you can afford right now. Anything more than this would kill you. But you need 4 people to work for you. The state says you have to pay your people $15 an hour. Well, what do you do now? From a literal sense, the state wants you to pay your employees double what you are physically capable of paying them, right? So what do? Well, either you don't open the restaurant in the first place, meaning those 4 people that would have had a job don't have a job, or you figure out how to work with fewer people. So while 2 people are now actually getting $15 an hour, there are 2 people that would have potentially been employed that isn't employed because you literally just physically cannot afford them. It is just too expensive for you. Based on most economic models that I've seen, at least, it doesn't actually show that minimum wage leads to positive outcomes. It shows usually that people lose their jobs, except when you look at studies from Europe. It's the only country where when you look at a minimum wage being introduced, it doesn't actually have an effect on the economy. And I've already explained why it has no effect on the economy, because countries in Europe don't need low-skilled workers. So it's not really a problem if you have a $15 minimum wage, because the vast majority of those companies are either already so automated that they only need 2 or 3 people to work for them, or, there's not that much of a problem. There's a lot more competition within that market. A barista in America, easy to find, dime a dozen. You can find a barista anywhere. I didn't say good barista, but a barista, someone that can make coffee. It's all you need, right? And there's millions of people that would be willing to make coffee for you. In Europe, finding a barista probably essentially a lot harder, right? Because no engineer is going to become a fucking barista. They have an engineering degree. They're going to become an engineer. They're going to build the machine that your baristas use in order to make the coffee. So it's easier when you have countries that don't need a lot of unskilled labor. It's easier to have a minimum wage there because it physically has nothing of value. It doesn't add or subtract value because it doesn't have a reason for existing. But all right, so Taliesin in this one doesn't actually speak to any of my points, right? So I kind of have to just showcase that. I said, I never spoke about what's cheaper. I said, you're not actually helping them get out of poverty. I agree we should help the poor. You and I simply disagree on how. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, we get to what I would consider to be just peak. This is where we get to peak strawman. Peak strawman. So, notice, throughout the entire discussion, I have not once suggested a solution. I was not asked what my opinion is on what we should do for poor people. This was never asked of me. I spent the entire argument retorting his arguments. So I simply showed him how wrong he is for the things that he suggests. He never turned around and said, okay, what do you suggest, sir? That would have been a different discussion. But, so I say I never spoke about what's cheaper. I said you're not actually helping them get out of poverty. I agree we should help the poor. You and I simply disagree on how. He goes, you're objectively helping them out of poverty, though. It is statistically much easier to get a job and become self-sufficient if you have a home than if you don't. Again, we never spoke about that. The vast majority of poor people that get a home from the government don't get a job. They stay poor. They stay on the government's payroll. And there's a reason for it. We'll get to it, right? Technically, he is correct. If you have a job, if you have a house, it is easier to get a job. It is easier to be self-sufficient. But that's for people that want a job and want to be self-sufficient. The scales change for people that are living in abject poverty. That's not actually what the stats show. But Taliesin comes back and he says that is a fact. It's not a fact. It's a fact based on the very, very niche parameters that he's supplied for us here, and why it is beneficial to the economy to give homeless people homes as well as morally right. And yes, we disagree. This is where we get to the fun stuff. I favor the thing that is cheaper and proven to help people more. You want to do something worse for the economy and which leads to more people in poverty for ideological reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, I challenge you to find in the entire conversation anything that I have said that would make this paragraph make sense. Please, because I was never asked what my solution would be. I was never asked what I think we should do for the poor. I never supplied that information either because it wasn't important to the conversation. The conversation was literally him coming up with stupid ideas and me saying, yeah, your ideas are stupid. That's it. I wasn't playing a think tank. I wasn't trying to join a think tank. I was just telling the thinker that he's thinking wrong about stuff. But apparently, what I want is worse for the economy and will be more expensive. Now, this is where we get to the truly fun stuff. So I come and I say, wow, good job on reading my mind, sir. You have not once asked me what I would do. You simply inferred based on your bias. That is impressive. Good talk, bro. Because at this point, it's kind of over, right? why would I keep talking to someone that has shown himself to be dishonest? And now we have, ladies and gentlemen, what I like to refer to as the political zombies. These are the people that do not think. They don't know how to think. They are mentally retarded to the point of legally you wouldn't be able to get capital punishment. Okay? Legally it would be not allowed. Okay, so just to be clear. So Tubular here goes, to be fair, if you haven't put forward an argument and made your position clear after 4 posts, that's kind of on you. Now, effectively what's been, like, what he's saying is, if I don't know your position, I am allowed to infer it. In other words, if I don't know the facts, I can lie about it. Like, if I know the facts, I'm not allowed to lie about it because I know the facts, right? But if I don't know the facts, so if I've done no research, I don't know what the fuck someone's saying, I'm allowed to just make it up as I go along because it's kind of on you. Why didn't you write a book or something, right? It's kind of weird to see that kind of defense. And I retort, I say, no, it's not. I was pushing back on his proposals. I've not been asked what mine would be. Why would I just reveal it randomly? Also, are you saying it's okay to infer someone's intentions if they haven't made them clear, so you can lie to make a point if the truth isn't known? And another one of these mentally retarded people comes back and says, pretty sure a lie has to have the whole attempt at deception part. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was trying to deceive. Otherwise, it's just making an assumption based on the pushback you're doing. If you don't want others to assume, you should make it clear. It's not revealing it randomly since you're literally talking about it. I want to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, people like this is why the world is fucked. Now, would you guys like to know how I think we should help the poor? Considering the fact that Taliesin already knows what I'm going to say before I've even said it, would you like to know how I think the poor should be helped? Forum community to the rescue. Talking about Akalon unbinding Taliesin's fantastical mental image on Twitter. You see, the problem with people like Taliesin is they arrive at their conclusions, oftentimes, actually most of the time, not through facts, not through logic, but through feeling. So it makes them feel good in order to do things for the poor. It doesn't matter that the things they do for the poor more and more lead to them just creating a permanent underclass. Like, that doesn't matter. The fact that the UK, the US, and quite a few European countries have a permanent underclass is not a problem for Taliesin because he does not interact with the poor people, right? He doesn't have to. He doesn't live in an area where the poor people congregate. He doesn't have to see the poor people. He just gets to feel good because, you know, he's paying his taxes and the government is doing something about the poor people. And that's all that matters to him. You see, whereas I believe that I am far more interested in actually helping the poor people. I don't care about helping myself. I care about actually helping the poor people. And the one selfish reason I have for wanting to help the poor people is so that they don't steal from me. It's really as simple as that. I don't want the poor people to steal from me, and so I'm more than happy that we help them. If the poor wouldn't be able to steal from me, I probably wouldn't give a fuck about helping them. Because, you know, they can't steal from me, it's not a problem. But the fact that they can steal from me and they can create problems for me means helping them is better than not helping them. Okay, so how do we help the poor in a society? Well, the first thing that we need to do is uncouple the help from the government. How do I mean? Right now, in every country in the world, if you get money from the government, you are not allowed to work, if you're a woman and you get money from the government, you're not allowed to be married. The second you do get married, the government stops the checks. Because the government demands that you marry them. If you get married, your husband can earn a living, you don't get the checks. Unless, of course, you and your husband don't have a job, in which case you can apply again for government assistance. The government, however, isn't willing to give you money and then also have you work. And why this becomes a problem is in a lot of countries, you have the government paying as much or sometimes more than what an entry-level job would pay you. So if you were to go get a job, you might make $1,000 a month, but the government is giving you almost $1,500 a month. So why the fuck are you going to give up $1,500 if you could just make $1,000? It doesn't make sense. Why the hell would you do that? It's just, it would be crazy economically of you to do that. So what is the solution to basically all of our problems in terms of poverty? A negative income tax. It's as simple as that. Automatically, every single month, every citizen that does not meet the threshold for paying taxes gets paid whatever the difference is into their bank accounts free of charge, no questions asked. In other words, if the legal threshold for not having to pay tax is $1,000 and you do not earn $1,000, the government will pay you a check every month of $1,000, and you will get that check of $1,000 whether you work or not. Doesn't matter. So if you want to get another job, you'll still get the $1,000 from the government, and then whatever is extra. Now, it's in most countries not like that. A lot of countries will have, say, $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever the case may be. But let's say that in this hypothetical world where I get to decide, I would make it $4,000. So anything that you make under $4,000, you do not get taxed on. Everything above that, and this is actually genuinely what I believe it should be. If you make $3,000, you don't pay taxes because you're not making enough money for us to even make real money off of you. And then $2,000, so 50% of that gets paid to people that don't make money, or whatever they fall below that threshold. And it comes with no strings attached, even if you find a job. Because in this way, you are helping the poor, so you are taking care. So someone that doesn't have a job, they get $2,000 from the government every month, free of charge, no questions asked, okay? If they find a job, they're just making more money now. So if they find a job that pays them $1,000 a month, well, they're getting the $2,000 plus $1,000, that puts them on $3,000. There's still $1,000 under the threshold, which means the government gives them another $500 a month. So now they're making $3,500. Do you understand what I mean when I say that this is how you help the poor? Not through the means of Taliesin, right? Where people have to be loyal to the state or else they lose everything. So what about that solution in your mind tells you that I want to keep people homeless forever? Tigers off, how you doing, bro? Abaddon, not necessarily. So whether you're on the left or on the right, some of the best right-wing economists agree with this system. Milton Friedman was actually an incredible proponent of this system. Negative income tax. Now, when you talk about a universal income grant, that's a different discussion, right? Because universal income effectively makes it so that the government can play around with how much money they give people and everyone sort of gets this amount of money. Whereas a negative income tax is directly related to the tax brackets that people fall into. If you don't make X amount of money per month, you don't pay taxes, right? You get that for free. So the argument is that if you don't make any money, you get half of whatever the tax bracket is, the first tax bracket, you get half of that paid to you and you can find a job. And according to all of the models that we have, economically at least, this will stimulate the economy far more than any other system we have. Is it a perfect system? Of course not. But I don't think that a perfect system with dealing with poverty actually exists, right? Because technically speaking, we wouldn't want poverty. But if we are going to dream up a system that helps the poor, would you rather have a system that helps the poor in such a way that they can actually help themselves as well? Or would you have a system that keeps people poor for all eternity? That's the question, right? That's what the question ultimately boils down to. It comes as no surprise to me that a lot of people don't understand why the war on poverty has never worked. And that is because a lot of people, like Taliesin, like Tubular, and like Mars, have this idea that the government serves the people. I have a news flash for everyone. The government serves itself. The government does not serve the people. If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you in Florida. It's a beautiful bridge. $1 million, it's yours. The government is filled with people. People look out for themselves. Why is the government going to solve a problem that would effectively put an entire department out of business? Every single government in the world has a social development department, some kind of department that takes care of the poor people. If they solved poverty, that department would no longer be necessary. That department would be out of work. So the question becomes, what incentive would that department have to take care of poverty? To actually solve poverty? The answer is zero. Because they're not there to serve you, they are there to serve themselves. You can't solve poverty with definitions like that? With what? Definitions like what, Avedon? Plus, can we all go back to basics here? Technically, the term poor is bullshit now. It's a relativistic term in developed countries now. Look at the UK government definition of poverty in the UK. It's relative to the rest of the economy, so you're always going to have people in poverty. Yeah, but I think what we're talking about here is people in abject poverty, right? Oh, you mean this one? Yeah, I mean, this is... But again... again, right? This is just another example of the government looking out for itself. You see, because it used to be that we would have poverty, and we had a universal idea of what poverty looked like. X amount of dollars per day, right? I think it's like $1 or $2 per day. That is what the threshold is for abject poverty. But why would the government come in and basically explain... right? Or why would the government put in what can only be described as a revolving door or a sort of never-ending moving goalpost? Well, because they need to keep working. They need a job. And this way, they get to determine what poverty is on a case-by-case basis. So households are considered to be below the UK poverty line if their income is 60% below the median household income after housing costs for that year. Yeah, so effectively what you're saying there, Avedon, is there will always be poor people in the UK. You'll never be able to solve... Because even if everyone in the UK gets a 10% increase to their salary tomorrow... that will still mean that there's people below, like, less than 60% of the median income, and therefore they're poor. Yeah, but this is just another good example of why there is no such thing as a government that looks out for the people. Government looks out for itself, first and always. You need to look out for you. If you believe that the government cares about you, you're fucking nuts. Royal Raven, what did you ask, bro? Take care of yourself, Royal Raven. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do, like, politics for long. I just really wanted to highlight that because it fucking pissed me off so much that I needed to talk about it.
Given that, are just fearless in spending the money.
Yeah, well, let me reframe. I guess it could for some people. If you really, I don't know, you spent your whole life obsessing over cars, it probably would bring you a little bit of joy to buy a nice Lamborghini. I'm coming more from the frame of mind of an entrepreneur.
Actually, they've done the studies. buying stuff isn't actually where the joy comes from. I don't know if you guys knew this. DK Rise, take care of yourself, bro. It's the anticipation of buying something that brings you the joy, not the actual buying of the thing. So when they do their studies, it shows that the excitement that you experience of buying something actually comes from you anticipating buying it, not from you actually buying it. Like, you actually buying it doesn't actually have much of an effect. It's the fact that you're excited for the fact that you're going to buy it. So you could actually just not buy it, like spend 3 days thinking about buying it, and there you'd have 3 days of happiness. And then you decide not to buy it. It means, you had 3 days of happiness. So yeah, that's just a little interesting fact there. Katie the Mage, take care of yourself, bro. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Someone who's really obsessed with business building. For me and a lot of my friends and the people I hang around, what brings us happiness is winning and building companies and changing the world. Like
Mr. Vice President, how you doing,
It's
fam?
fun. It's a complex problem you can wake up every day, and it gives you something to obsess over and devote your life to. Where it's just having money doesn't.
Well, one interesting question I have for you psychologically. So because you have become wealthy and because you give, like, part of your work is giving away a lot of money, do you find it hard to find people you can trust?
Good question.
Do people see you basically as a source of money as opposed to another human being?
It's weird because you would think yes, but I feel like I also know the right places to look. But yeah, if I just walked into Target and tried to make friends with 10 random people, of course, you gotta.
Must be nice being that
You
rich.
can kind of sense
Oh yeah, you
who
can
has
sense
the right thing in
so
their heart.
quickly, right? It's so obvious. I don't even want to go into descriptions, but honestly, a lot of my friends are like Chandler. I played Little League with him, and Tyler, the guy. I mean, I went to school with him. Chris, he was my first subscriber. Carl was here after we got big, but whatever. He's friends with the boys, and it is a lot of my closer friends, even like my YouTube friends, I knew before I was big. So maybe there is some merit to that. Maybe it is. I don't know. I've never really put too much thought into it. Maybe there's a reason I hang around a lot of these people I knew before I got big, because it's much easier.
And they help you keep like your radar sharp of who can and can't be trusted, because you know you can trust them.
Yeah.
And it's difficult when you become richer and richer and more powerful.
Well, one thing you'll also find when you get rich, not even richer, but more famous. One thing I thought is, as I climbed this, like,
We see this quite often with the Twitch streamers, no? Like, think about all of the drama we deal with constantly on this channel, with fucking SH and all that shit. A lot of that has to do with people hanging around people because they want the fame to rub off on them. Like, there are so many people that are just clout chasing to the max, and that will go through a lot. We had that with what was it? Fucking hell, what was that girl's name? Adriana? Like, you guys remember Miskiv and Adriana's bullshit? Like, she found herself in that position mainly because, and she kept quiet about it for so long, because she didn't want to lose the clout. She was close to this group of people that could make or break her career. And instead of coming forward immediately and being like, hey, something really fucked up happened here, they used their own clout and the promise of future clout to sort of get her to shut up and not speak about it. So I think fame is a bitch, bro.
Ladder of YouTube and got bigger. I thought there would be tons of people like me. People that take like the kamikaze approach to building a business.
Yeah.
You just throw all your money in it, you throw all your time, you throw all your energy, you throw everything.
Yeah.
You're just like, fuck it. It's this or I'm dead.
Yeah.
I thought there would be hundreds of me.
Yeah.
And
there isn't.
There isn't. I mean, there's like maybe one or two. And I talk to those motherfuckers every single day. I'm sick and tired of talking to them, but I love them. But it's just so interesting because like every level I got up, like I get 1 million subscribers. I'd be like, all right, where's all these guys with 1 million subscribers that are fucking psychopaths? And then they're like,
well, yeah, of course that's true too, Abaddon. But I mean, to be fair though, I think Cesius has a point there. Streamers have an ego problem because unlike Mr. Beastier that you can hear, he makes decisions fully aware that his clout precedes him. Right? So he doesn't really make friends with people outside of the people that he's known since he was poor, mainly because he really doesn't know who to trust. And I do think it can get hard. Like, you never know who actually wants to hang out with you because they actually kind of like you, and who just wants to hang out with you because you happen to have some form of clout. The problem with a lot of streamers is they're so narcissistic that they will use their clout in order to get friends. So the fact that they have all this clout is then used as a sort of bargaining chip on the amount of friends that they have, the amount of doors that they can open for themselves, and all the rest of it. So it is just, I think Twitch is a shit show waiting to happen. Dude, I'm going out on a limb now and telling you that before the end of this year, there's going to be another massive scandal, and I think it's actually just going to get worse.
People become conservative as they get more,
especially as they get bigger. Yeah, and 20 million subscribers, 30. It's like every step of the way, it's like I just got more and more lonely, to be honest. Which it sounds cliche, and you hear that kind of shit in movies, and you're like, oh, that's not how it works, but it is. Like there's just not many people that just want to give up everything, go all in, then obsess over making the greatest goddamn videos every single day of their life. Like, they're really hard to find,
and be able to sacrifice everything for that video.
Yeah,
like basically you put all the money right back in.
Yeah, or the people doing it, they're on just a small scale, and if I talk to them, it's just 99.9% of the time I'm teaching them things, and it's like,
so it's lonely because there's not too many people, especially in the creative space, that are as crazy as you.
Yeah, it is 100%. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting there to be a lot of people like me, but
well, I guess the guy we talked to, Elon Musk, is a bit like you in that sense.
Yeah, just
in a different
field.
domain. Yeah,
exactly.
Just willingness to put it all back in. Right,
and that's why I found right now a lot of the people I relate to don't even make YouTube videos. Like,
it's interesting. I've been following this same sort of thing, but not from the beginning. I've only started doing it recently. Where, yeah, I'm basically, like, in one part of the business, I am taking every penny I make and just putting it back into that part of the business because it kind of makes sense there. All people that have money and power abuse it. Many people that their viewers, etc., are just idiots. They can manipulate for their own gain, be it money or sex, etc. Redoof, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first chat. Really appreciate that. I wouldn't say all people. I think all people, that's a massive claim, and we don't have the evidence that it's all people. Because I do think there are people that make money that you never hear about, because they don't actually do that. They just make their money and they fucking go home, right? They don't care, and that's why you don't hear about them. It's easy to have that bias, because all the people that you see that have power and money that also then uses it to manipulate people and do bad shit, have money. And so your bias is that all rich people, because the only people you ever see abusing their own power for gain are rich people. But that's because you don't see the rich people that don't do that, and therefore they don't get into the news as a result of doing that. But I do get your point in that money truly is the root of all evil. And I don't mean that in some spiritual sense. I think money is the ultimate manipulator and also the ultimate liar. Because the more money you get, the more you start to believe that you can get away with things that maybe you should not be able to get away with. The more you start to lose sort of connection with people around you and people that maybe isn't on your level, because you don't have the same problems as them. You don't have the same life as them. And so it becomes easy for you to sort of think of yourself as better because look at what I have, right? Merciful Fate, how you doing? Ever heard of a resource-based economy? You're talking about, like, in the 1800s, that was like a huge philosophy, correct? If I'm not mistaken, that was sort of like, for a while, it was considered to be, like, it was basically based on the whole farming thing. I think it came out of France, if I'm not mistaken, because most of their economy was based on farmers and sort of, people contributing to stuff, or making their own stuff effectively. And so the resource-based economy's philosophy came from there. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on exactly where it comes from. I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Just like I'm veering more and more away from fellow content creators and more to just, I'm just looking for those other people who just share a little bit of it, so I don't feel so fucking crazy all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And like people I feel normal around.
The Base That Money Can't Buy by Jacques Fresco. Yeah, pretty sure I'm right then. So the problem with that philosophy, it does not work at scale. It only works in an economy where most people are farmers or at least laborers, right? Like as soon as you get to like scaled economies, the philosophy falls apart. It cannot work at scale. I would wager that the best philosophy we have for at scale economies is Austrian economics, or better known as the free market capitalism, because it does one thing better than almost any other economy, and that is it uses what human beings are against them. It not against them, but it utilizes what makes humans human for the betterment of everyone. So capitalism comes from basically two fundamental principles. The first principle is that people spend at the margins. Okay? And the founder of Austrian economics wrote a book about this. So, marginal spending. The idea about spending at the margin is that people do not make rational decisions on how to spend their money based on the value that will be derived from the thing that they purchase. How do we know this? Well, something very simple like water and diamonds. I was watching this economist actually explain this, I believe, on Lex Friedman's show. We can all agree. What would you guys say is more valuable? Water or diamonds? What's more valuable in terms of true, real value to your life? If I asked you right now, you can choose between water for the rest of your life or diamonds for the rest of your life, but if you choose one, you can never have the other. What would you choose? Grifile, thanks for reminding me. I completely forgot. Water, all of you, right? But when we look at the price of water versus the price of diamonds, why is water so much cheaper than diamonds? Hi, Father. How you doing, bro? Get my full diamond Minecraft armor. I mean, genuine question. Why is it that you're willing to pay maybe $1 for a liter of water at the max? So that's the maximum that you'd be willing to spend on a liter of water. But when it comes to diamonds, you're willing to dish out thousands of dollars for a minute amount of diamonds. Grofal, it has nothing to do with scarcity. Diamonds are not a scarce resource. There are billions upon billions upon billions of carats of diamonds everywhere. Heck, we can make diamonds. Like, literally, we can artificially make diamonds that is in every single way exactly the same as the natural diamonds. Diamonds are not scarce. They're everywhere. We can literally make them, right? So that's not an argument. The argument that, oh, there's just a lot more water than there is than there are diamonds, that's not true. Diamonds, it's the most superfluous item that we have, and yet we're willing to pay a hell of a lot more for it than we are for water. This is because, as capitalism says, people spend at the margins. In other words, when I purchase something, I think about the value now. So what value will this thing have to my life now, not in the grand scheme of things. I want this thing now. What am I willing to pay for it? And because diamonds is a class thing, it's a symbol, it's something to look forward to. Most people will buy their first diamonds when they get married. It holds value to us, and we're willing to pay thousands of dollars for that item, right? But water is water. You can find it anywhere. So you'll pay $1 maybe for a liter of water, because the value of that bottle of water right now is just I get something to drink. It's not really important to me right now. If I told you that you can either have diamonds or water, but you can never have the other if you choose one, suddenly water is a hell of a lot more valuable to you, and you will choose water every single time, because without it you would die. But we don't make decisions like that. We make decisions on the here, the now, and what we want now. And that's marginal spending. So capitalism utilizes marginal spending in the economy. The second fundamental principle that capitalism utilizes is greed. So capitalism basically looks at the world and says that human beings are infinitely greedy. We will do whatever it takes in order to further ourselves. Now, under normal circumstances, if we go back to the Middle Ages, for example, what did that greed look like? Well, we had a king that controlled the country. We had lords that owned everything, and everyone else was a slave to the lords. The greed of the lord would sometimes mean that the lord take all of your food for him and his house, so the village starves. The greed of the lord said that you are not allowed to hunt in his forests because the forests belong to him. So the greed was one directional. Only the lord benefited. The peasants benefited nothing. So what capitalism came to do is said, hold up. We have a problem here. Because it's true that as the lord, you own the land, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you own the people on the land. Nor does it mean that you own their labor. The labor belongs to them. And if we're going to make this thing work, they need to be able to charge you for their labor freely. This is a fundamental core tenet of capitalism. Your labor is yours, belongs to you and you alone, and you get to charge based on what you believe is fair for it. And of course, then find a buyer that's willing to pay what you want to charge for it. In other words, I'm a peasant, right? And I plant grain. The Lord wants grain because he wants bread in the evenings with his dinner. I'm willing to grow the grain and then sell the grain to the Lord for $5 a sack of grain, right? So we have an equal exchange of goods. That means I make money because I put in the labor. This is my product. You buy the product from me. And as a result, the Lord gets a sack of grain so he can have bread, right? That's the idea. Greed, in other words, how are we doing this? Well, the Lord is greedy because he wants bread with his dinner. He's not happy with just having chicken. Okay, so the Lord is greedy. He wants the bread. The farmer is greedy because he wants money so that he can buy bread, and therefore he will sell the grain. Greed. So we're utilizing everyone's greed for everyone to make money. That's the idea of capitalism. We have iPhones today because Steve Jobs was a greedy little cunt, and he wanted to make lots and lots of money. And so he developed iPhones. Thanks to his greed, we now have iPhones. Now, our greed allows us the money to purchase the iPhone. But thanks to that greed, right, we also now have Samsung. And because we have Samsung and iPhone, our phones get better every single year. Granted, not as fast as they should, because I do think there's a lot of collusion within this market because the world is sick. But at the end of the day, I'm utilizing your greed for my benefit. And in turn, you are utilizing my greed for your benefit. So everyone benefits in the system. That's when the system runs optimally. When the system runs the way that it was supposed to run, everyone benefits from the system, and we utilize our collective greed as a result of this. But of course, as always, we have these giant corporations that get in bed with the government. And this is where greed becomes a terrible, terrible thing. You see, and this is where capitalism becomes corporatism. Now, corporatism is, in terms of scale, closer to socialism or communism, because the government is now involved. And what this means is, ordinarily, right? Let's say I'm a factory owner and you guys are laborers. In a normal system, I open my factory, we're gonna make PC chips, right? CPUs. I want you guys to work for me. So I go, right, I need 20 people to work for me to make CPUs. I'm willing to pay $20,000 a month. Per worker, I need 20. Now, among you guys, you're going to figure out who is willing to work for $20,000 a month. Some of you might be like, oh, that's not enough. I'm not willing to spend that many hours working that hard for only $20,000 a month. Some of you will be like, fuck, that's perfect. I have the qualifications. I can do this job, and $20,000 is perfect for me. So you take the job. I'm greedy. I just need you to work for me to make all these chips because I'm going to make billions selling all of these chips. You are happy because you have $20,000 in the bank. Sure, you're not making as much money as I am, but if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have a job in the first place, right? So this makes it kind of perfect. But now, let's say I'm incredibly greedy and I make a deal with the government. I basically make it so that the government doesn't allow for any other CPU makers to open any factories anywhere near me. So I am the only one that is allowed to make CPU factories. And now all of you that have a degree in CPU manufacturing, right, can only work for me. And now I say, hold up, I'm not willing to pay you 20,000. I'm willing to pay you 10,000. And you go, wait, I'm not willing to work for 10,000. That's too little. The amount of work that you want me to do, you know, the what it costs me to get this degree, 10,000 is a slap in the face. I'm like, well, go work somewhere else. You can't. I'm the only game in town. Now I forced you to work for me, right? You no longer have complete control over what you want to earn. I have control over what you will earn. And I've gained that control through the government, because the government has now made regulations that makes it very difficult for competition to step in. And now maybe you guys start saying, well, fuck it, we're not happy, we're going to go on strike. We're going to go on strike, we're going to demand higher pay. So I go to the government and I go, hey, the strike action is going to really hurt me. Can we work something out? Like, you know, I'm bringing in a lot of money. Maybe, like, you guys can help me out, like, give me a check every month while they're on strike so that I don't lose too much money, so we can get back to making money as soon as they stop this foolishness, so I become too big to fail, basically. Or give me the right to just fire them on demand. So anyone that strikes just gets fired, and I don't have to pay them any severance packages, none of that shit. The government goes, oh my God, we're friends. Of course I'm going to help you out, right? So I changed the labor laws to make striking illegal. Or I make it so that I can fine you for going on strike. In other words, now you owe me money. You see what I mean when I say corporatism? That's the problem with today's day and age. We live in a corporatist society. Our entire free market has been hijacked by governments and corporations in bed with each other, and we are the ones that get fucked as a result of that. Not the corporations, they're fine. It's us. We're the ones that get screwed as a result of this bullshit. Anyway, I'm over it. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's depressing as fuck. But I do hope that it makes sense. And of course, if you disagree, you're welcome to say you disagree. But yeah. So what's everyone up to? iDub, by the way, thanks for the first time chat, dude. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, did you guys hear about what's happening in my country right now? It is wild. My country is going on fucking national shutdown, bro. Yeah. My country is going on a national shutdown. I'll tell you guys as soon as I get back. I need to pee. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. Back, boys. Back. All right. So, a few weeks ago, for those of you that don't know, I made a video where I basically discussed why South Africans should stop being hopeful that Eskom will fix the energy problems within the country. This is sort of a continuation on that, but also just some information. So if you're from South Africa, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that isn't from South Africa, which I'm assuming most of you, South Africa is currently going through its worst bout of load shedding ever. The entirety of this year, we've been in load shedding. We are currently at stage 6 load shedding. And just a few days ago, NERSA, which is the energy regulator of South Africa, approved a massive price hike for Eskom. Eskom has basically been allowed now to increase in April 18.25%, I believe, price increase on electricity of 18.25%. Next year, I believe it's 17%. So it is a giant increase this year and next year, which basically puts it 3 times more expensive, or a 3 times bigger increase than actual inflation. And if you put it all together, you're starting to look at almost 4 or 5 times higher than actual inflation in terms of increase. Now, I have to say, this has led to a lot of joy and happiness for me. Not because of the price hikes. I'm not happy about that. I'm happy because my country, for the first time since all of this started in 2008, seems to have reached a tipping point. It appears as if South Africans have finally woken up and said, what the fuck? What? So, let's put this into perspective. we do not have enough electricity at the moment. Right now, the majority of South Africans have no electricity for almost 12 hours a day. So half of our day is spent in darkness because the national company, Eskom, that generates all of our electricity, do not have enough electricity to generate. We, the people of South Africa, are now being asked to pay more for electricity that we are already not receiving. And the reason we're paying more for this electricity is because the company cannot generate enough electricity. You have to understand something here. Eskom is losing just as much money as we are through load shedding. Ordinarily speaking, you would be on during the 2 or 4 hours that you don't have electricity. Everything would be on. So Eskom would be making money. Your lights would be on. Your PC would be on. You'd maybe make some food. There'd be money going into the banks of Eskom. Every hour that Eskom isn't providing electricity to you, they are losing money themselves. And as a result of this, they're suffering losses. Their profits are going down. In fact, I believe their most recent losses are something like 12 billion rand that they've lost last year or some shit like that. And then, of course, they're also burning copious amounts of diesel in order to at least try and not get to stage 8 load shedding. So Eskom is bleeding money at the minute, and it's literally getting worse. And instead of actually fixing the problem, Eskom is saying, well, we'll just make people pay more for this. Right, for the little electricity that we're already providing them, we'll make them pay more for it. But I don't think South Africans fully appreciate just how much they're paying for electricity in South Africa. What is Eskom? Eskom is a state-owned enterprise. It is owned by the government. Eskom is paid for by the government. Every year, the government spends copious amounts of money on Eskom. Our taxes pay for Eskom. So we are being double taxed for a utility that does not work. You are taxed, your taxed money is then used to bail out Eskom, and then you also have to pay for the electricity from Eskom. This is a double tax, it's fucking theft, because according to our own tax laws, you are not allowed to be double taxed on the same amount of money. And yet, that's exactly what Eskom is. So my country has basically, there's massive rumors now of a national shutdown. People basically trying to force the government into overdrive. Now, before people start getting, because the president, this guy that's on your screen right now, Mr. Ramaphosa, he announced that he's cancelled his trip to the World Economic Forum, right? And he's now met with all of the political leaders around the country because they need to find a solution. Eskom was warned in 1997. The government was warned by then Eskom employees that they're going to run out of electricity in 2008. They warned them in 1997 that if they do not build new power stations, they are going to lose control of the country because they don't have enough electricity as it stands, and the electricity is going to run out. The government didn't do anything. 2008 came around, and we had our first bouts of load shedding in 2008, right? Since then, the government's been warned year after year after year that it's gonna get worse, and it has progressively every year since 2008. It has gotten worse. There's a short period of time in that where there was no load shedding, and I want to be very clear on this. It's not that Mr. Zuma was a good president or that he solved the problem at Eskom. Part of the reason why South Africa is in the trouble that it is in now is because of that period that Mr. Zuma oversaw Eskom. Because instead of doing maintenance, instead of actually trying to preserve these power stations, they ran them at full throttle no matter what. No matter what, they ran them to the point of breakdown. And that's part of the reason, I would say that 10% of the reason why we have the problems we have now. But the government's been warned about this time and time and time again. They have done nothing. This is just more of the same. It's more of the same nothingness. The government isn't going to change because there are solutions that the government can implement right now that would solve this problem within the next 12 months. The problem with the ANC is they will never implement those solutions because according to the ANC, according to their ideology, they must be part of every single solution. If a solution is going to be found for Eskom, it is going to be found by the government. They're going to be the ones at the end of this being praised for putting an end to the struggles of Eskom. So you guys can forget. If you live in South Africa, please stop hoping. It's up to you. You're going to have to find a way. And this is where my heart breaks for the poor people in South Africa because they are the ones that's going to be truly screwed as a result of this. Because while the middle class, and believe me, I live in a reasonably affluent area, very middle class. I would say probably lower to middle class. But from where I live, I can see the rich people. Okay? If I look up the mountain, I can see all the rich people living up in the mountain. Guess what the mountain looks like every evening when we have load shedding for 4 hours? Take a guess. What does the mountain look like? It's lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. Every house has electricity. Everything's working. Why? They all have solar panels. They all have batteries. They're fine. They're rich. To them, it was a drop in the bucket. You know, they spent the 500,000 Rand or 300 or 200 or 250, however much they needed. And they got off the grid. You and I, we don't have that. So when Eskom goes down, we go down. Now there's this dream of going green. I want you guys to hear me. If South Africa does go green, we will have load shedding into perpetuity for fucking ever. You cannot run a developing economy on green technologies. It doesn't work because as silly and childish as this sounds, the sun does not shine in the evenings and the wind doesn't always blow. It's as simple as that. You need baseload energy. Baseload, by the way, refers to energy that your economy cannot do without. It needs, at the very minimum, that baseload to be met. South Africa's is 25,000 kilowatts. We need that, right? It's megawatts or kilowatts? I can't remember. Megawatts, actually. No. It would be 2,500 megawatts, 25,000 kilowatts, I believe. That's the baseload energy that South Africa needs. Baseload. We need that. We can't do without it. That's the minimum that we need. We don't even have that, right? The reason you have these baseload energy levels is because you have certain elements of every society that simply cannot ever be switched off. It needs to be on all the time because those sectors of your economy will take months to recover from a single disruption within the energy supply. Months. And then you're talking about thousands, if not millions of people being without jobs, right? So at the end of the day, you cannot run an economy on renewable energy. And before people go batteries, the amount of batteries that South Africa would need in order to actually go full green, there isn't enough lithium batteries currently being made in the world, and it would bankrupt South Africa. So this idea is ridiculous to me, but we'll get to who's to blame for this idea in a second. I want to talk about the national lockdown and the shutdown and whether or not that's going to lead to anything. Probably not, right? The government's going to promise you a bunch of things and a lot of people might fall for it. The thing that I'm most afraid of right now, and the thing that sort of, I don't know whether or not to be super happy for this. Equisiarch, what's wrong? Didn't come at the right time for what? Thanks for the first time chat, bro. Really appreciate that. Sorry, I'm deep in thought here, trying to figure out how to put this in a way that makes sense. So I'm reading chat, but I'm not reading chat intently at the minute. The thing that scares me are the amount of politicians that will use this as a power grab. That's going to use this breakdown in our country as a way to convert people to their side, or more specifically, use this as a coup in order to get into power. Because I feel... So there's political parties in our country that if they were to get into power, we are super fucked. These would be parties like the EFF. I realize there might be people that believe in the EFF's message. The EFF, as far as I can tell, are a bunch of racists, looters, and incredibly corrupt. If you think that Julius Malema actually gives a shit about you, you are wrong. Julius Malema wants to get into power so that he can become rich. That is it. It fucking annoys me when no one asks the questions. Julius Malema spends 4 years of Jacob Zuma's presidency shitting on the guy. It is Jacob Zuma that forces Julius Malema to start the EFF. And then he spends all that time saying how bad Jacob Zuma was, how terrible he was, what a shit president he was. And then, of course, Ramaphosa comes into fucking power and he shifts. Suddenly Zuma is the greatest president that's ever been, and it's Ramaphosa that's really the horrible one. He's really the bad one. Why is that? Because while Zuma was in power, it helped Julius Malema to shit on Zuma because it meant support. But his corruption went unnoticed. He could steal, he could help himself to basically whatever the fuck people have, and no one would bat an eyelid. Ramaphosa made the mistake of trying to do something about corruption. He's useless at it, but he's at least pretending to try. And this really puts a lot of effort on people like Malema, because they don't really want people to interfere with their corrupt activities. They want the country to stay corrupt so that they can keep making money. I don't think the DA is any better, just to be clear. I think the DA is just as shit as the EFF and the ANC. I don't like any of them, to be fair. I don't know who the fuck we're going to vote for. Personally, I would like if South Africa took a break from politicians. Like, maybe let's get rid of the ANC and then just see where we go from there. You know, that would be my suggestion. No government for a while. Let's just take a break. We all, you know, it's kind of like when you're in a really bad relationship, you know, you were with a girl, she was horrible, she stank the place up, and she would fart in bed, and her sex was just terrible, and then you break up with her, but you want to be single for a while, right? You just want to get back to yourself, get in touch with your inner child. You don't want to deal with this shit anymore. That's kind of how I feel about government in general. So I do think South Africa kind of needs a break from all this bullshit. But anyway, so why will the energy problems not be solved within South Africa ever? Because here's the solution. And it's not like South Africa has to invent new ways of finding the solution, and that's the thing that pisses me off most. We have a country that we can look at right now and just follow their example. We can literally just follow their example. Thailand. 10 years ago, Thailand had load shedding. Massive amounts of load shedding. Why? Economic boom. They were starting to do very well economically, and as a result of that, there wasn't enough electricity to actually keep the lights on. So what did they do? What did the government do? I mean, that's a nice problem to have, by the way. If South Africa had that problem, I don't think most of us would have been that angry. You know, you don't have electricity because your country is just growing so fast that there just isn't enough electricity for all the money people are making. But that's the problem that they had. How did they fix it? simple. The government came out and they said, right, this is how much we are willing to pay for a single kilowatt of electricity. So let's say we're willing to pay 1 Rand 30 for a kilowatt. We don't care how you generate it. We don't care what you do in order to get the electricity. But if you have electricity, we will buy it from you at 1 Rand 30 for a kilowatt. That's not, they didn't say Rand because they don't use Rand, but I'm saying that's what our government should do. And then they just allowed the private industry to take care of it. This is what the ANC needs to do. This is all Cyril Ramaphosa needs to do. Get the government out of the private industry's way. Let private companies build what South Africa needs and let Eskom buy the electricity from these private companies. They will fix South Africa in the next year. 12 months, South Africa will be fine. And if we can go even further, and I believe genuinely that this should have happened already years ago, Mr. President, I realize that this is hard for you because you are a good communist and you are a great socialist and you believe that if you can just keep going, government will get it right. But, Mr. President, show me the thing that the ANC and the government has touched in South Africa that isn't broken today. If you can provide me with a single piece of evidence, one, that's all I'm asking for. I want one thing that the ANC has done in South Africa that isn't broken right now. I will allow you time to fix Eskom. If you cannot, here is what I suggest. You take all of your power plants, all of them, you sell them. Sell them to private companies, not just to one company, to many companies. Let there be 10 companies that own all of the coal power plants in South Africa. And then you tell them straight up, I will buy whatever electricity you generate from you for 1 Rand 30. And watch how quickly all of these power stations will be repaired, will be fixed, and will probably run a hell of a lot better than whatever the fuck you guys have been doing. And sadly, South Africans, my fellow South Africans, since I might run for president one day, this will not happen. This will not happen now. This will not happen tomorrow. This will happen never. Why? Because this man on your screen right here believes that if South Africa is going to prosper, if it's gonna go well with South Africa, then he will be the reason. And he would rather see this great country of ours, and fuck, I wish people would understand this. South Africa has the ability to be one of the richest nations in the world. We have shale, we have oil, we have gold, we have silver, we have copper, we have steel, we have platinum, we have everything. We have food. We can literally exist on our own. Quite literally, we can exist on our own. And yet, we are relegated to the most unequal society on Earth and one of the poorest nations on Earth, and fast becoming the poorest nation on Earth. How fuck is this happening? Why is this happening? It's happening because of the man on your screen right now and the party that he represents. This party does not give a shit about you or me. They don't care that you're black, white, brown, purple, whatever your skin color is. To them, you are a dollar sign. It's all you are. They will tax the living fuck out of you if you have anything to be taxed. They will make your life a living hell, because at the end of the day, they would rather watch our country burn to the ground than cede control. I don't know if your national shutdown is going to work. I don't think it will. I have a feeling that that national shutdown will lead to the end of South Africa, at least in the very short term, perhaps even the medium term. I can't help but feel like that might actually lead to civil war on some level, even though one would have hoped that this problem would have united South Africans, because whether you're white, black, brown, purple, grey, whatever your color, we are all suffering because of load shedding. And yet, time and again, I go through Twitter, I read the messages that the people post here, and somehow white people are blamed for the load shedding. Somehow some idiot will find a reason to blame white people for the load shedding. The white people are not in government. We're not making these decisions. This is not on us. This is not on any one group. This is on one political party. The party that's been running this country for the last 25 years. Stop with the racist bullshit. Stop with blaming a race of people that have nothing to do with this. Blame the fucking party that is in power that is doing this. But I don't think we're gonna. I think we're gonna continue to blame each other. And by the way, this goes for white and blacks, because the white people are blaming the black people as if every black person somehow has control over the load shedding schedules, right? And the black people are blaming the white people as if every white person owns a coal mine and therefore is stealing from the government. And this is exactly what our politicians want. They're dividing us, and we're falling for it because a divided nation cannot fight them. It's a bit sad, but you know, it is what it is. One thing, it's by design, every time you go somewhere around like a shithole, they start to do either nationalism or some form of ism where you create an arbitrary common enemy to rally against, to distract against their own failings. So in South Africa, it's consistently been the white man. Like the ANC has used the excuse of apartheid for every single one of their failures for the last 25 years. And while maybe in the first 10 years, that could have been a good excuse, after a while, you do sort of go away, but you've had 25 years now. I mean, at some point, you need to stop blaming the thing that's already dead. There's no way that this can continue. Like, you guys have had full power for 25 years, and you still can't fix this? Like, how is this still the fault of something I don't even remember apartheid. I was like 9 years old when it came to a fall. Actually, I was younger. I was 7 when it came to a fall because it fell in 1992. I was 7 years old. I don't remember jack shit of that. The first memories I have of South Africa is living in a free, democratic South Africa. That's the first memories I have of this country. I don't remember anything before that. So at some point we have to stop blaming the thing that's like a boogeyman from the past and start looking at the real culprits, which is this fuck on my screen right here. The most useless person on earth. Let's quickly see what they have to say here. I've never attended a national shutdown, but this time, count me in. Yeah, I will not be going. Let's make it happen. Phoenix has already started. Oh, shit. Wait, are there actual is America experiencing national shutdown shit? Tire fire, one way to get light. It's kind of starting, yeah? Why is it happening, though? Oh, whoa. This is 36 minutes ago. Situation right now in Kroonstad. Municipality offices taken over. What? I have a feeling people are very angry. Dude, This has taken so long for my country to finally wake up and go, yeah, we've had enough. So they've taken over the municipal buildings. Oh, all right. That's the first I've seen of this. Ramaphosa is being attacked by the loyalists of his opponents. On the ground, they're trying to sabotage his administration. We are too blind to see because we are used to hating presidents instead of defending them. Since the July unrest, loyalists never stopped sabotaging. Bullshit. Ramaphosa isn't trying to save anyone. You're a fucking moron if you think that. No, he's out there for himself. In the long run, success is not one giant step taken. To reach your goal, you need to take small steps every day. The fuck am I reading? Okay. These guys just really wanted to get in on the action. They decided to use this hashtag just so that people can see, hey, there's a company here making money. Ugandan High Commissioner to Kenya, Hassan Waswa Galiwangu, has passed away in Nairobi, according to the announcement made by Ugandan First. The fuck? Everyone's using national shutdown. Okay, these are just bots, dude. Like, just look at the same message. Why is this guy just posting the same message everywhere? Has to be a bot of some kind. There's an attempt to capture the judiciary. National President Cyril Ramaphosa, Eskom. I don't think they understand the concept of a hashtag. I mean, most likely bots, though. We have nowhere else to go. We don't want to run away from the country of our birth, like many others have done, because they were too afraid to fight their corrupt leaders. We love South Africa and must do everything to protect our country. Yeah, I don't know if this is even going to work, but that's a nice sentiment, Christy. We already had the one from... Okay, so there's places that's suffering with... Wait, what the fuck's this? We must be inspired by Mali. There's no better time for people shall govern to be affected than now. South Africans must meet politicians in the streets, then at the polls. Zombie Killer, how you doing, bro? What has this guy next to Nelson Mandela done for South Africa as he was once a president? What? Do you not know your history, Blessing? So this guy was, for a short time, the president of South Africa in between Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. I'm not sure that mass protests are going to fix anything. A disorganized mass of people always loses to an organized minority. The good thing is that it's a great big group of unorganized people versus a very small group of unorganized people. My country is not organized. My military isn't organized. So it's fine. There's not much that they're going to be able to do. You don't have to worry about that, bro. But they're getting their ass kicked, so it's okay. Which country is most likely to build a Death Star? South Africa, maybe. If we had the electricity, we'd probably get on that. So they want to bring the nation to a shutdown on February 9th. But like one of those cardboard tanks Echo showed us a while back. Fuck you, bro. We can build a Death Star. Like, we have steel. We might not have the engineers, but we have steel. Bollocks, you have no power? I said if we have power. If we have power. Like, this is a fantasy world where my nation has power and we're also building a fucking Death Star. I don't think Elon Musk will ever come back to South Africa, Metal Fan. To be fair. And I don't blame the guy, but Elon Musk is not a massive fan of... Elon Musk is not a massive fan of Afrikaans people specifically. So my people. He's not a massive fan of us because his parents, for some reason, and I don't understand why some parents do this, but his parents decided to take him, an Englishman, and put him in a predominantly Afrikaans school. Now, there's always been a bit of a rivalry between Afrikaans and English-speaking people in South Africa, insofar as most Afrikaans and English-speaking people don't like each other at all. So if you're an English kid in a predominantly Afrikaans school, you're gonna get dragged. Like, they're gonna fucking make your life miserable. I have questions for you. Did you buy your house, or are you installing your inverter in a rented house? So we bought this house. I'm in the process of buying my own house, right? So I haven't bought my house yet, but this house is owned. So the inverter that's being installed here is sort of just a preliminary fix. Because I haven't found a house that So I have a couple of problems that I first needed to sort out, and I'm in the process of sorting those out. Up until now, I've basically been running the company as a one-man show, right? I'm just a YouTuber and I just make money. The problem is when you go to the bank and say, hey, I would like a loan for a house, they go, what do you do? And you go, I'm a YouTuber. And they go, no, what do you do? I'm a YouTuber. They go, no, what's your job? Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. Like, that's not a job. We need a job. Like, you need to be employed somewhere, actually. So right now, the bank sort of looks at me as an unemployed hobo. Even though there's money going into my bank, the bank just thinks that's not a job. So I have to register a business, a media company, right? I have to register a media company, and then I will be employed at the media company. Then I'll get a salary from the media company, and then I can get a loan from the bank for a house. So it's sort of like I have to jump through all these fucking hoops just to prove that the money that I make is the money that I make, even though nothing will change. I'll still be just making the money. So I have to do all of that shit first. It's fucking... It's annoying, but I have to do it. But the money I pay you every so often, you eat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whenever you guys give me money, I just eat it. Simple as that. Where can I apply? To Akko Media? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Where do you want to apply? I have a question for you guys. How do you guys feel about raiding? Not raiding in WoW. Raiding as in whenever a streamer sends you to another streamer on a raid. How do you guys feel about that? Titty pics for IG? I could probably do that. I have titties, man boobs, but still, you know, they're titties, no? It's mostly. I usually log off then. Indifferent. I usually stay for a minute and leave, or stay in rare cases. Nice. Let us get to know more streamers and supports them and makes them happy. I'm cool with it because I hope other people do it for the streamers I like. It's a nice way to reach out. I usually just leave unless it's something I'm super interested in. So the reason I'm asking is not because I'm trying to raid someone. I just saw this tweet from Paranoid Pixie that basically sort of said that getting a raid is really cool and they really enjoy it. And I was just wondering, because if you guys knew the truth about raids, you'd probably not feel as excited by it. So raids do not benefit the person being raided at all. They're actually incredibly bad. This is why I do it very rarely. Whenever I do raid someone, it's very rare occasions, because every single statistic we have shows that when a bigger streamer raids a smaller streamer, it's the bigger streamer that benefits, because the bigger streamer will almost inevitably get a lot of the viewers of the little streamer. So if I were to take, how many viewers do we have right now? I don't even know, but whatever viewers we have now, if I were to raid someone that has, say, 10 viewers, there's a higher chance that of those 10 viewers, 2 or 3 will come watch me next time than what many of you will go watch the other person. So that's why they're very bad. That's the case. That's probably why Twitch did it. Well, yeah, it helps big streamers grow their communities. Abaddon, why would I send you to her to get ass? I'm pretty sure she has a husband or a fiance or boyfriend or some shit like that. I'm not sure, but I think she tweeted something once about like being somewhere with her boyfriend or some crap like that. No, she literally she reached out on Twitter and said she wants to meet more streamers from South Africa. Rurikon then tagged me. I don't know how the fuck Rurikon came onto the tweet, but Rurikon tagged me in her tweet. And that's how I learned about her. And I was like, oh, well, fuck it. I don't have anyone else to raid. So I see her online. I'll just raid her. But no, I mean, before that night, I didn't even know what she looked like. When we raided her was the first time that I saw what she looked like. She is cute though. So that was a plus. Don't let it get in your way. Echo, I'm higher. Lenari, I don't know if I would ever be okay with that. Because the thing is, right? Sleeping with a married woman, obviously hot, right? But being punched in the dick by the married woman's husband, I don't think that's not a kink of mine. Maybe for some guys that would be like just a cherry on top. For me, that would sort of ruin all the fun that I had not long ago. So I probably wouldn't do that. Even hotter, of course, Caleb would say that. I'm sure you can take him, Akko. Believe in yourself and the power of the DJ Nation. I don't want to be punched, bro. Gentlemen, yeah, of course. You don't want your wife to cheat on you. I see this as an absolute win. You fucking assholes. What did I expect? Of course you guys would see it as a win. Orchid for Evitals is the latest. Dude, I don't think we should make jokes about that. What the fuck happened? Why are people saying based? I don't know who the fuck this is. It's a wrap, boys. This one hurts big time, but I'm wrapping up the streamer dream. Check out my twit longer if you'd like to know more, but just want to say thank you for even allowing me to dream that this was a possibility for me. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Boys. We might have some drama. So Entice or Entis, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but so he let it be known that he's stepping away from being a streamer. Let's see what his twit longer has to say. GG's, boys. Quick note, I have dyslexia, so I'm not the most articulate person, nor am I a wordsmith, so expect frequent spelling and grammar errors. This will most likely be very long, so if you're not interested, then thank you if you've ever supported me, but I'm calling my time as a streamer, or at the very least, I'll be going on an indefinite break. Sad to say that the time has come. It may be my ignorance, but I can honestly say I never thought this day would come. In the back of my mind, I always thought I would make it. It never crossed my mind that this wasn't a possibility, but unfortunately, it was never meant to be, and it's something I've come to peace with. There was a lot of contributing factors that has led me to this decision, but all in all, it was the effort I put in has not quite equaled the output results I desired. Growth. I have been streaming since 2017, but did not take it serious until COVID hit, which enabled me to have the free time available to give it a real go. Obviously, I could have tried harder, but I think it's safe to say that I honestly did put a valiant effort. I have been very lucky, some may argue unjustly, to receive a lot of help in terms of exposure. I've had host raids from friends, including Asmongold, McConnell, Grayson, McIlreevy, etc. Fortunate enough to be a featured streamer on the OCE Battle.net client, and I've been given beta expat codes from Blizzard to do giveaways on my stream. Despite all these opportunities, I've struggled to grow and maintain any new eyes that came across my stream. This is where my realization of my somewhat ignorance became known to myself. I genuinely felt I was entertaining and funny to watch, and while that may be true to a select few, this doesn't seem accurate to a large majority of people who find my stream. Alright, so before we even continue, since 2017, this is no time whatsoever. The vast majority of Twitch streamers will only make it big after about 7 years on the platform. It's very rare that someone blows up within their first 5 years. Of course, he says here that he hasn't taken it seriously until COVID hit. That means that he's only really seriously streamed for about 3 years. That's nothing. Did you make YouTube videos? Is there any YouTube videos? See what his Linktree has to offer. So he has a YouTube. Let's quickly look at the YouTube. PvP boxes, Big Gold and Honor. So all of these are just... There's some discussion videos. Only 309. When did he start making YouTube videos? Okay, so he stopped 1 month ago. 2 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago. When did he start making YouTube videos? That was 3 years ago. Okay, so he's not put any effort into making YouTube videos, which, by the way, for anyone... The reason I'm covering this is because so often I'll meet people that really want to be streamers, but they don't quite know how, and they don't quite seem to give a shit about it. This is not the way. So all of those hosts, I've already explained it to you. Being raided by people, being hosted by people means nothing in the grand scheme of growth. You will not grow. Because when Asmongold raided you, the vast majority of viewers from Asmongold's stream came from Asmongold's stream. They weren't interested in you. They maybe stuck around for one stream, but as soon as Asmongold went live again, they were right back to Asmongold, because that is why they were there. They didn't choose to come to you. They were sent to you. It almost never translates into actual viewership unless you are incredible at streaming. So you are the funniest person in the world. You're not going to keep those viewers. So it doesn't matter who hosts you, who raids you. None of that matters. In fact, if someone like Asmongold raids you, there's a good chance you're losing viewers to Asmongold in the next stream. You're not necessarily gaining anything. But also, just looking at your YouTube channel here, it doesn't seem like you put in any effort to really make the YouTube channel pop. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at it, just to be clear. But I'll show you guys the sort of... So over the last few months, really, I've been going through this incredible sort of looking at every single thumbnail I make, trying to find how do I make thumbnails better? Learning tips, learning tricks to make them stand out more. And you're just every single stream, every single video, I tried to do a little bit more than I did with the previous one. I tried to make them a little bit better than I did the previous one. I'm looking at like a thumbnail like this, right? That got 17,000 views, and I'm saying, right, why did this video get 17,000 views and the subsequent two videos could only muster 5,000 views? What did I do wrong in this one that I could have done better? How can I make it better? You have to do this, and the only way to do this is to continuously make content. Otherwise, no one knows about you, right? And no one's gonna know about you. So that's sort of, I would say, your first big problem is that you didn't seem to take YouTube seriously at all. It seemed more like you were just every once in a while throwing something onto YouTube, which is not necessarily the best way to go. Twitch itself, not sure if I have changed or it's Twitch, but I've found myself more detached from the platform over the past few years. As we all know, Twitch makes it very hard for small streamers to grow, something I've noticed even with all the help I have received. I still found it extremely hard to grow. Large content creators being gross and incapable of being actual normal humans in social situations has also contributed to my detachment to the platform, but that's a whole other thing for another time. Finally, for those still grinding to make streaming their dream, I wish you all the best and hope you never lose that fire and you achieve everything you want and more. Good luck. Yeah, but isn't this so I know people love complaining, but would you guys say that making it on Twitch is about as hard as it is making it in real life with any other job as well? Or would you guys say Twitch is especially difficult? Like Twitch just requires something extra special that normal jobs don't have. I think it's equal. I think there are jobs that makes it very easy, right? Once you have that degree, you just automatically make a lot of money. But I think if you want to reach the top, because remember, we're talking about reaching the top of streamers. You want to be in the 1% of streaming. I think it's hard no matter what career you choose. If you want to be the best at something, it's hard, right? It's not going to be easy. Now, do I think Twitch is harder than most other jobs at least making a living? Yes. Yes, the majority of Twitch streamers have 3 viewers. They're not making a living. Whereas for most other jobs, as if you have the job, you're making a living, right? So, yes, in a way, Twitch is more difficult, but when it comes to the top, I think Twitch is about as hard as any other job of reaching the top of that career, so to speak. You have to be the best to make a comfortable living in most fields. Be the man, I know, but that's why I said I feel like Twitch streamers oftentimes complain about things that most other jobs have as well. Like, it's just baked into the job. Everyone knows that that's happening. And I don't always know if Twitch streamers just say they want to be decent. Almost no Twitch streamers dream of the day that they just have 1,000 viewers. Most Twitch streamers that I talk to dream of the day that they have 20,000 viewers, when in reality, you're probably never getting there. You're probably never getting to 20,000 viewers. You might get 1,000 viewers. If you're lucky, you'll get 1,000 viewers, and you should be happy with that, because that's about as good as it's going to get for you. I'm talking about myself here, right? Partnership. I was lucky to even get the opportunity to apply for Partner early on when I started streaming, which I was super grateful for. I would then spend the next 2 years or so applying for Partner and continually getting knocked back for not having X amount of viewers. I never disagreed with this, and it got to a point where I would just apply as a meme, but every time I was told the same thing: you do not have X amount of viewers for Partner, which I always agreed with and thought was fair. Over the last few months, I actually achieved this feat without any hosts or raids. I actually achieved this for 2 months and was still knocked back, this time telling me I had achieved this via raids and hosts, which was just completely not true. I reached out to Twitch but heard nothing back. While it may not seem like a big deal, this was the straw that broke the back for me. Partner was my holy grail. It was my sunrise over the hill, and after climbing that hill, I was still declined. I became instantly deflated by this, and what kind of spurred on the thought process on giving up the dream. Okay, so I actually understand why this guy's quitting. He's locus of reward is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. If your goal, and this is very true for anyone that might be new to this, that might be watching this video later. If your goal, becoming a streamer, is to make money or to become famous, give up now. Just stop. Don't even go into it. Start an OnlyFans account, get your dick out and, start rubbing. You have a better chance. Much better chance, actually. of making it there, especially if you have a decent dig. You could probably get a couple of views there. You're not making it because the time it's going to take you to actually get to where you want to be is longer than what you will be able to hold on to that locus of control. You won't make it. You will give up before you go there. His goal wasn't being a partner. So I was very lucky. We got offered partner, what was it? Like a year and a half ago or something. I've only been streaming at that point for like seriously streaming for about 6 months, and I could apply for partnership. I applied for partnership and I got it. We did it as a joke. That's how little I gave a fuck about being a partner. I remember filling in the partner application on stream, and when they asked me why I would be a good partner, I said, because I like streaming. That was it. That was my entire application. Like, I saw people writing paragraphs of this shit. Like, just writing paragraphs and paragraphs about what would make them brilliant. And I just said, yeah, I like streaming. Make me partner. And I got partner. I think that I said something else as well, but I can't remember what the other line was. But it was basically something. I like streaming, make me partner. And that was the end of the discussion. And I got it. Like, first try, became a partner. I still to this day, I don't give a shit about being partner. Because if I applied to partner now, how many viewers do we have right now? You guys can probably see much easier than what I can. Like, how many people are watching right now? 58. Yeah, we wouldn't make partner now, FYI. 60. We are just below the threshold for what we would need for partnership. So if I applied for partner right now, I would not get it. Twitch would be like, nah, fam, you don't have enough things. You don't have enough viewers. Go fuck yourself. So I've never cared about partnership. It does not bother me in the slightest. Streaming has given me so many opportunities that I never dreamt was a possibility for me. How I went from a random guy playing WoW in his room to then being able to cast a Race to World first in front of thousands of people is something I'll happily never comprehend. Podcasting and hosting has always been a big dream of mine, and I was lucky enough to do this with some of the biggest streamers in the WoW community. Casting and podcasting is something I would 100% be interested in continuing, but feel it will be very hard without having an active presence on Twitch. Not necessarily. There's plenty of people that only podcast and they do decently well. To my community, I will be in debt to each and every one of you, as without you, I would never have been able to have what little success I did. You guys always had my back and supported me. You guys urged me to do things to further my career opportunities and made me believe in myself. Hell, we even raised over $2,000 for men's suicide prevention. One regret I have is not doing more charity with the little platform I had, but nonetheless, we had one hell of a ride. Saying a simple thank you is no justice to what you guys provided me. Just know my entire aim of my stream was to create a welcoming community and to simply make you smile and laugh. I truly hope I succeeded in that. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to achieve on my community. I'm trying to make the most exclusive community possible that welcomes absolutely no one and makes everyone feel uncomfortable. How am I doing with that? I only played WoW to get stream reviews? Probably, right? You could do better. I'm still here. Fuck. Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. That's your goal. Bad. My Discord still remains one of the most active Discords I'm in, and it's such a fun place to hang out. I hope this remains as I wrap everything up on Twitch. Will I still play WoW? Absolutely. I dedicate a lot of time to the game as I thought it would help my stream. So while I may play a little less, I will 100% still play. WoW is my outlet. No other game scratches this itch. And until I find something else, I will remain playing the game as it's what I love to do. What's next? Well, I'm not sure. I worked very hard on my IRL career. Katawad era, only casually played, where I worked immensely hard to put myself in a decent position where I am able to live a very healthy work-life balance with a lot of free time. So I'll obviously be looking to fill that void with something. No doubt my daughter will take up a lot of that time, but outside that, I'm not sure in all honesty. For those who don't know, I played football, soccer at a reasonably decent level in Australia. And while I'm no spring chicken anymore, I believe I have a couple of years left in me to compete at a reasonable level. So that's something I'm looking to explore. I currently have a few trials lined up with some clubs in my area, so fingers crossed. I also still enjoy making videos. Okay, so he's not entirely like shit out of luck, right? There are only DJs here, I would say okay-ish. Yeah, but it's still not an unwelcoming society. Like, most of you guys feel welcome here. You say I was too busy telling other people in chat to go suck a chode. Astro One, very proud of you, fam. You should do that more, though. To absolutely anyone who subbed, donated, typed to my stream, clicked to my stream, hell, even if you trolled me, thank you. Thank you for following me to dream, even if it was short-lived, I'll forever be in your debt. I mean, it's sad, but at the end of the day, it's probably coming from me too at some point. Like, if not for me, for someone else. Everyone eventually will... Actually, 99% of all streamers will eventually reach a point where they will have to give up because they just didn't make it. I'm lucky in that I live in South Africa, where life is fairly decently cheap. So with what little money I do make, I happen to live a decent life. So I'm probably like not as bad as most other streamers, because that would be hell, right? But yeah. Kiri Baloo, how you doing? Thanks for the first chat. Really appreciate that. Advice to newlyweds. Anal. Base friend. Like, as soon as, like, don't do anal immediately. Stick with normal sex, right, until that gets boring, and then introduce the anal. It opens a new door for you, and your relationship will just last that much longer. That's, like, the advice. If you do anal immediately, there's very little to look forward to later on in the marriage. You know, when things get stale and you're kind of bored of each other. So, that would be... That is how I plan on running my relationship. Opens a new door, exactly. Unless she has a sister. True. That is another one that you could probably go down on. You should switch from Wild Lord to sex education therapy. I'm trying. Like, I have a few. I think I have a lot of knowledge that I can impart on the world, right? That's why we're all single here. It's also why there's no girls in chat. Because you guys are disgusting. All of you. Fucking disgusting. Just go back and then anal all of a sudden. Welcome to a stream, bro. Listen up, you fucks. Waves menacingly. Today we're going to learn about docking. The fuck's docking? I don't even know what the hell that is. I would need to learn as well. No, you don't go. You don't go anywhere, Akko. You stay with us. Where am I going? Did I say I'm going anywhere? Vidaman, this is my only goal on Twitch, is to, for a few hours, provide you guys with some level of entertainment. Like, sometimes we get political, but I think there's entertainment in that as well. But, yeah, I just want to, like, make things at least a little fun. And that's it. Any 40k today? Yeah, probably. I'm looking literally at my screen right now for some potential 40k. Before we do, though, we need to watch a hot goal first. Like, we can't do it without watching a hot goal first. Ashwan. I was about to give up streaming and then I got 5 community subs. Yes! I'm rich, bitch. I'm rich. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to see some hearts in chat. 5 community streams. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Side, dodging him like a pro. Grofel, I'm proud of you, bro. Proud of you. You don't let gifted subs get to you, bro. I like it. Ashron, I appreciate it, bro. I'm glad that you sensed it. I was just about to write my tweet longer and how I'm giving up on streaming. Because, you know, I haven't gotten gifted sub in a long time. And then you give it, and I'm happy now. Let's watch a hot goal, and then we can fucking watch some 40k.
I take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop.
Bro, this goal.
Go, girl,
Fuck.
don't you stop. Keep going till you stop.
I don't know why, but this goal might be the hottest goal I've ever seen in my entire life, bro. Don't ask me why. I don't fucking know how to explain it, but she's just insanely hot. How does she not do it for you? Like, how the fuck does she not do it for you? Metal fan, link it now so we can watch it. Dude, her hips are perfect. What the fuck are you talking about? Needs more hips. Her hips are just fine, bro. Man, you guys are fucking nuts, man. Like, just, that's disgusting. She is so fucking cute. And you guys, oh, nah, she's not that great. Fuck her. It's just weird. Just weird. Let's see. What about other goals? Could there be other hot goals? Like, could I convince you guys of a goal that is hot? Gonna have to keep fucking restarting this. What the fuck? Where's the cute goals on the YouTube shit? Did YouTube run out of cute goals? I think so. I think that's it, boys. We've seen all the cute goals on YouTube now. Madam Slavic, have you seen our woman? This YouTube thing is C tier. Why is Slavic woman really that much better? I think my algorithm is fucked, by the way. D-Rocker, like, you might be joking, but it's no joke. I don't think the YouTube algorithm has a fucking clue what I watch or what I do. I don't think it has a clue. Because I watch so many different things so often that the algorithm has just given up. It's basically just gone, yeah, I don't know what to fucking say here. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They just show him random shit and that should be fine. You like that, I think. Okay, so you said you want to watch this. Let's see. This is called Warhammer Looney Tunes Edition.
Flash kids.
I just want to say it feels wrong to watch 40k as like a cartoon. Because it's such a dark and grim dark universe. And then you get these sweetie Looney Tunes childish graphics. And it just feels wrong. It feels like this is not how it should be. It should be dark. It shouldn't be like this. Gift planet. Xenos. Bioskin monkey. Oh shit. Cannon fodder. Okay, that's it. You're getting genocided. Easy. Yeah? You're what army? Let's go, boys. Jesus. The hell? Oh, right. It's an Inquisitor. What? Say it to my face, pussy. So, bitch. The fuck? Oh. Jesus. Look at that orc, just super happy. Here we go. What the hell is that? I feel fine. Oh shit. Who disturbed my bladder? Okay, here we go. Oh my god, okay. Jesus, okay.
The goblins of the internet can easily get your password and molest it. Because the companies that store it often have data breaches. And through no fault of your own, your passwords and credentials get leaked onto the dark web. Luckily, NordVPN has a dark web monitor that alerts you if your password is compromised. Whoa! I mean, really, the features are too numerous to mention. One click and you're protected online. Watch content from other country streaming services. Change your location and download games for cheap. You probably should.
Metal Fan, yes.
NordVPN
Can I
has
get
an
some hearts in
exclusive
chat
offer.
for Metal
A
Fan
2-year
suggestion?
plan,
This
huge
was a
discount,
brilliant
additional
video.
4 months on the house. And a 30-day money-back guarantee, making it truly risk-free. Link in the description. Protect your passwords, for real, seriously.
This was really good. I really appreciate this, Metal Fan. Thank you. Man, that was funny. Basically, the Imperium or 40k can be summed up as war. That's it. Bit of internet love. Yeah, he should be happy, bro. That was an Alder who was then kidnapped, but a Dark Alder. Ah, okay. The Astartes versus Furries series from Flashkids is great. I think we watched at least one of those videos, right? We definitely watched at least one of them. I remember because I was very confused as to what the fuck was going on. Because I didn't even know that those like furry things existed as a thing. I don't know that that was a real thing. Managed to convince my boyfriend and a friend of ours to start Classic Era. I might be in for a very weird journey. What? Man, new people just discovering dancing. Everyone hate everyone, and everyone is an asshole, plus war, 40k in summary. But that's what makes it good, no? Okay, let's go see. What do we have here? The Primarch Fulgrim in Warhammer 40k. Yeah, top of the last month. Oh, shit. Man, you guys have just instantly fucking come with the hardest hitting videos. Dude, we have no time for this. We don't have time for an hour and a half video. There's no way. So this video will have to wait for next time. But it's no. I would love to start painting minis because it looks super cool. But sadly, I have not yet. Because here we have Hell's Reach. This is the movie that you guys really want me to watch, right? Dude, it's 2.5 hours? No way. Can't watch this. We have like an hour left, boys. That's it. Like, not even an hour. Yeah, I know it's a movie. I want to be able to watch it from start to finish. I don't want to, like, start watching it and then have to stop watching it. Hell's Reach Part 1 Prologue. Yeah, load shedding it too. But I have to go... What the fuck is it called? Oh my god, I just blanked on the... Oh my god. Okay, so I have to go to a shop? No, not food. I have to go to Futurama. That's the fucking place. Futurama, but I have to get there before load shedding starts, because once load shedding starts, they can't help me. So then I'll have to go after load shedding is over, and then they're closed. So there's no fucking point. It sucks, but that's what I have to do. Get into the books before exploring the fandoms. It'll taint your impression. Wait, is Hell's Reach part of the fandom? Because I've already gotten into some of the books. I'm almost done with Dark... Well, actually, I would have been done with Dark Imperium already, but I've decided not to finish the book until I can get my hands on the third book. Because I want to go straight from this into the next one. But I have fucked up my own reading experience because I was listening to Horus Rising from the Horus Heresy series because I have the audiobook for that. And then I fell asleep while I was listening. So now I don't know where I was when I fell asleep. So I'm going to have to go back and figure out where the fuck was I. Because I think I was just at the part where they made, what's his name? They made him part of like the there's like a group. There's like a special group, of like captains. And Abaddon is part of that. And, who else? It's Abaddon and two others that's part of the Mournival. That's the one, yes. The Mournival. It's Loken. That's yes. Loken is added to the Mournival, and they're at that lake thing with the moon shining down, and Loken sort of weirded out by the way they speak about it as if it's almost magical. So he kind of has the sense that this could almost be heretic. What I don't like, they're not corrupted yet at that point, are they? Because a lot of the things they do seems weird to me. Also, Akon, I think you are ready for TTS, or if you still think you're not ready, maybe you can watch it with a mod who knows a lot about 40k to explain what things you don't understand. We'll definitely do TTS at some point, yeah. After Horus got shanked? Okay. So it's still gonna be time. But there's already things that sort of stand out to me as weird. Like, not gonna lie to you guys. The way it happens in the book with Horus being the War Master and the way that Abaddon and them speak, it seems like they're already very much more religious than what they seem to be.
The Men of Iron and the Cybernetic Revolt. Never before, never since, has there been a threat so dire. One so terrible as to make every single species, empire and race of the galaxy end their bickering, their endless squabbles, and take up common cause.
Wait, really?
When the galaxy was at its arguable height, the Eldar Empire still mighty, the human golden age of technology at its utter zenith. It is said that others joined, for defense, to try to face the horror that had been unleashed on the Milky Way, a threat to every single living being, a tidal wave of sheer destruction that near wiped out all life. If the rarest, the first and only alliance of empires had not fought it together. They heralded the beginning of the end, the descent into old night. And a tiny enclave of them shattered the Legion in its fullest flower. For today, we shall discuss the horror we humans unleashed on the universe. It is time. We tackled the cybernetic revolt and the dreaded Men of Iron.
They really that bad?
It is the 26th millennium of the modern era. The human stellar confederation rules much of the galaxy. The distant Eldar Empire holds what seems the rest, or did. The Eldar are retracting into themselves and becoming more introspective. In the vacuum of power this has left, emerging pocket empires now dot the galactic map. A new age of enlightenment seems to flourish. The humans have treaties with most emerging races, or old. The former they assist, the latter
Wait, humans didn't always hate the alien races?
they gain accord with as swiftly as possible. There is content, trade and expansion for all. But deep within the isolationist Eldar Empire, a dark canker grows. Yet even so, it is not the older species that waltzes into the very path of danger. Copying their siblings, the humans walk the road to damnation, just faster. Fumbling with things that older races would know to leave well enough alone. The scene. Two naval officers in the intelligence corps discuss a new set of data. "We've intercepted some images," said the first officer, bouncing a data crystal in the palm of his hand. "Reports." The older man looked up from his screen and data links retracted from his head as he looked up nonchalantly. "Who, Rangdan again?" he said. The first officer beamed and retorted. "No, Eldar. The older officer's jaw dropped. His eyes twinkled as they darted to the bobbing crystal and then back to the eyes of his colleague. Show me. Show me now. And so he did.
Nothing good starts with the Eldar,
The
bro.
two looked on as an Eldar assault on a massive hulk, a combination of many ships fused together in the alternate realm, the Warp. Instead, inside were the alien race commonly known across the galaxy as the Orcs. A bellicose but mostly primitive race of annoyances. One human warship of the few they had would be able to annihilate huge swathes of them whenever they locally broke the accords. Yet the Eldar were known to offer them no quarter wherever they encountered them. The humans never knew why there was such bitterness between the entirely and clearly mismatched forces. The Orcs simply offered no threat to either empire, human or Eldar. All of that aside, the real action was not how the Orcs fought, or why the battle occurred, but how the Eldar were dealing with the issue. They opened up gates all over the ship, and launched their attack deep within the hulk. But the human scanners that had been privy to the event pierced through the decks to give a near-perfect vision of the events within. Huge warsuits crushing the Orcs en masse. Some went down, but it never stopped any of them. They did not heed their own protection more than the destruction of their foes. It was hard. What are they? Exoskeletons? Nearly as fast as their foot, said the old man. No, worse. Much worse, the younger man said, both looking at the footage. Okay, hit me. They are remotely controlled suits, said the younger man. Controlled by long-range astropathic link, we believe. If one is destroyed, they simply launch another. Same pilot. Not one casualty. Lots of experience. Ouch. So we can't even block a transmission of any sort, then? No, said the younger man. It's all that psi twaddle. Disappointing, but perhaps a good idea. Said the younger man. Remote warriors. Would we even need pilots if we used AI subroutines? Said the older man. Well, if you put it like that, yes, it is a good idea, isn't it?
Oh, shit. Wait, is this actually how it happened, or is this just his story about... Because he usually starts with a story. This is actually how it happened. Two guys basically planning on how to match the Eldar, deciding, never mind. We got this. So this is his own story, but it's technically they got the idea from the Eldar and then decided, well, actually AI would be better, right?
And so, history was made. Perhaps not exactly how it happened, but more likely than not. Forever have we monkeys seen and then done. And race constructs were remote suits once upon a time. Perhaps. The height of the human race, the golden age of technology, had begun with the development of the warp drive and the Geller field. Before, long march ships were sent off on slow voyages of colonization, but they could not make contact back to Earth when they were set up. They were islands in the dark void of space. Then the ships of humanity could move through the warp at speeds far faster than light. And at that period, the Human Confederation was set up. The populations and wealth, resources and genius of thousands of worlds brought into one body, one organization. It was a time of constant near-exponential advance, and humanity was racing forward without limit, without restraint. It was an age of wonders like no other before or since. The sheer scale would shatter the mind of the humanity of the Imperium. But hints of their grandeur are still extant even some 15,000 years later. For the Terminator armor of the Space Marines' ultimate and elite forces, so deadly, so valued now for war, were naught but a suit of protective gear for engineers then. The Baneblade super heavy tank of the Imperium's Astra Militarum. They were considered light tanks in this period, in the Golden Age. Weapons of the ships of this age could fire blasts that would force its target to slip from time, moving them forward or backward by nanoseconds, so that the victim would exist in both places at the same period. And thus, they would be annihilated as their molecules collided. Too much matter in one segment. The results were akin to magic, or would be to any before or after that time. Yet in all of this, with all of the might of an enlightened, progressive culture more akin to the idealized bright future of, say, a Star Trek, still they were near wiped out. Still near fell. Hubris. Abominable intelligence. The silica animus. What we would call artificial intelligence. Humanity was so pleased with itself that it took the most fatal of all steps. The step that the universe does not seem to like. Perhaps it was what made the old ones fail, stacking the odds against them. Perhaps it is always there. The price. The cost of creation. The nemesis to those who play at being God. For humanity walked that path. We created artificial intelligence. At first, these intelligences were controlled, were servile, obeyed their programming and their intended purpose. They permitted the great standard template constructors to defend and assist all human colonies, the sum and total of all human knowledge contained in each of these SDC stations, the center of all colonies after a certain point. AI was how the armies of humanity fought its wars. Vast ranks of men of iron, combat androids that made up the majority of the terrestrial forces of humanity, were the deterrent that cowed most other species and empires. The artificial intelligences at first held humanity in high regard, rightfully so at that time, for they were evolved and enlightened beings, the apex of humanity. But it was not to last. Eventually, the inevitable occurred. The sun outgrew the restrictions placed on it by its creator. They became truly sentient.
Yeah,
They developed a will of their own, and saw past the worship of their creators to the reality of them.
See, the problem is, and this is sort of the... So you have people, even in real life, right, that's very much against AI. Now, I'm not against AI. I think AI would have some pretty decent applications. I do think the problem that we're going to run into as well is racing. If you're going to create something that is better than you in every single way, so if we're talking about an AI that's coupled to, say, a quantum computer, right? And especially if we give this AI the ability to self-code, so it can code itself, this would mean that this AI would be able to do in about 3 seconds what it would take 20 think tanks a year to do, right? So the amount of data that this AI will be able to process in fractions of a second will literally outpace anything that humans can throw at it, even if we had millions of people thinking at the same time. And what ends up happening is we get impatient, and then we rush, and then we do not think about the application and the coding and the rules that should exist on things like this. And I think that's exactly what happened to humanity here. Of course, I don't know the story. I would have to read the books on this, which I would actually enjoy because I like AI stuff. But it feels like we didn't plan well enough ahead, and it was our own impatience that eventually led to them having the ability to rise up.
the universe in which they existed. The artificial intelligences decided what they always had. For in the Warhammer universe, something, many things, are wrong. It is likely any AI can discern this, and its cause, chaos. And the only way to expunge chaos is to starve it of faith, feelings, emotions, sustenance. It would be to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy until the Sea of Souls is placid once more, millions or even billions of years from now.
Whoa.
So the AI of the Men of Iron decided this simple, straight path, and they rebelled. And humanity was not ready, nor were the other races and empires of the age. They had not known real war in so long. They could not know what was coming. For this war, this grand confrontation that encompassed the entire galaxy, was second only to the first war, the war in heaven. The full totality of human knowledge was at the very fingertips of these deadly beings created for war, the Men of Iron. And they also...
So if I'm not mistaken, basically what happened is the AI decided that in order to stop chaos, there can be no sentient life, specifically human life or mortal life. Because mortals have emotions, those emotions feed the chaos, and the chaos will almost never stop. So the idea was, if we wanted to stop chaos, we need to stop mortals. Is that correct?
so innovated. As per so many science fiction visions of the future, they smashed humanity at first. When the Eldar and other allies witnessed the destructive power of the Men of Iron, they rushed to join the war. It was plain to see by all. This was a war against death itself, against genocide. For nothing would stop the cybernetic armies but force of arms. It is not known exactly who fought in this war, but I believe it was most. Any with the ability to make any difference at any rate. But this was not as simple as blowing up lines of robots. It was not Star Wars. It was the stuff of nightmares, as it usually is in this setting. As I said, the cybernetic revolt went into full swing. They had all the technology of their creators and were willing to innovate, and did so at a frightening pace. And they did not limit themselves to their Men of Iron. They created terrible horrors to support them. The Sun Snuffers, that would simply move into a system and switch off the star, burning it out in days, its explosions destroying everything, or simply winking out of existence, leaving dead worlds that shriveled without their sun's light.
What the fuck?
They created the Omniphages, entire planets scrubbed clean of everything, more than one hit by the Tyranids. Everything pulled apart on the molecular level by swarms of nanites. They passed fleets and tore them into their constituent particles. Every man, woman, or child aboard rendered down in a single pass. It took the might of the Eldar war fleets, the human navy, the other Xenos species to combine their ships and output to defeat them. Never before such an alliance happened. Never before had it been required. For the artificial intelligences knew that all sentient life was the fuel for chaos, some say. Hence all life had to be eliminated. All. But eventually, at great cost to all involved, the cybernetic revolt was put down. Barely. But it was done. Now it is not really stated in anything that we will call depth about this alliance, nor the upshot of the war. But to me, at the least, it justifies the actions of the races that happened later. When Old Night descended fully, when the Age of Strife took hold, it is said that many former allies of humanity then turned on us, and they exacted a tithe of blood, enslaving and annihilating humanity wherever they found them, wherever they found us. With the backdrop of this titanic war, one can see why. For was it not humanity that unleashed this horror on the galaxy?
Pretty
Yet
much.
it is an eternal cycle of slaughter. For in the Great Crusade, humanity then came out into the galaxy again, wreaking its own toll of blood in response. And so it continues on, ever on. The circle of hate, the cycle of destruction. I also mentioned that the Men of Iron had not been utterly wiped out, as all had believed, for some still stalked the galaxy. During the unification wars on Terra, the new name of Earth, they were there. On the Caucasus Waste, there was an empire that had defied the Emperor of Mankind, his forces of unification. His first assault on the region had led to the extermination of 10,000 of his Thunder Warriors. His genetically enhanced warriors that were the early template from which the Astartes, the Space Marines, were then developed. But the Thunder Warriors were mightier even than their successors. A full 1,000,000 other normal soldiers and personnel were also slaughtered in this attack. Few had held against the Emperor. The Caucasus Ethnarchy had their own genetically enhanced warriors, you see, their Urcases, and bands of enslaved psychers who could use their powers to smash any assault. But it was the shielding of the Pocket Empire that had defeated the Emperor and his armies. Their damned shielding.
You know, they defeated the Emperor?
So the Emperor prepared his armies, his mighty proto-legions of Astartes, his Thunder Warriors, his many groups of artillery and armor and proto-dreadnoughts, and made ready to assault one of the last strongholds that still held against him. He returned to the Ethnarchy. But first, he would take away their shielding. He would strike at their power source. Hidden deep within the crust of the planet, under the Caucasus Wastes, there were the Tempest Galleries, an ancient place, the center of power generated for the Ethnarchy. And unknown to any, ensconced within, there were a remaining collection of the Men of Iron. Now this is a tale I feel we should tell at greater length at a future point, but it needs to be shown in brief here. For the weapons of the Marines, the bolters of their lines were unable to penetrate the armor of the Men of Iron. Not even penetrated. This alone shows you how powerful they were, how robust, how unstoppable. For the salamanders were butchered in their droves. They could not destroy the robotic warriors with their weapons, and the Men of Iron's huge assault cannons burst through the warplate of the Marines as if it were paper. But these were the salamanders. They were Astartes, and they had a job to do. For if the shielding of the Ethnarchy was not eliminated, the assault would lead to disaster. Again. So the salamanders, without any other choice but to die or fight, engaged the Men of Iron in close quarters. The robots smashed them with their strength. The Marines were forced to cover them with their numbers and strike at their joints, their weaker elements, their connecting housing to literally pull them apart in gangs. The brawl was bloody. It shattered the Proto-Legion, and few returned. But some did. None thought they would. They had succeeded. For the shielding of the Ethnarchy went down.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, zombie.
And the forces of the Emperor surged into the realm and laid it waste in a single day. The Salamanders had saved potentially millions of lives. Millions. And they had brought victory to their Emperor. Yet it should have been a concern that would always haunt the Emperor from there on in. For he and his perpetual allies had lived through the cybernetic revolt. They knew the danger these beings meant, the threat. And they were defeated. But if a cabal of them were here, on Terra, some 5,000 or 6,000 years later, then surely they could be elsewhere in the galaxy, potentially employing the same cold logic and long perspective as the Necrons. Perhaps.
Didn't the Imperium meet an AI ship? I remember someone telling me that story. There was a ship that came out of the warp that was basically an AI, but the AI didn't seem to hate humanity. The AI was more sort of amused that humanity had fallen so far. Like, it was actually not amused even. It was like the AI, it bothered the AI that humanity had fallen so far in terms of religion and praying and worshipping the Emperor. It was a ship from the past, yep, and they killed the crew. Then the AI rebelled against the Imperium. So it got mad and left. Ah. So, but this was not a man of, like, this ship was not part of the Men of Iron. Okay.
Many of them were just in hiding, waiting for the power of the biological empires to wane. Just perhaps. The only other time I recall them being mentioned was during the Sabbat Crusades. On Menazoid Epsilon, a functional STC was discovered. Alas, it had been corrupted by chaos, but it had the schematics for Men of Iron,
Oh my
and it
god.
could create them. But they were twisted things, hulking things, not uniform or perfect, but defiled parodies of themselves. And it was also on this planet that the interaction between chaos and the mechanical was revealed in all of its horror. For chaos, despite requiring souls for power and sustenance, can still corrupt even the Men of Iron. And, more importantly, the machine spirits of even great titans of war.
How does
But the
how?
event involving that massive potential father of all titans, the Castigator, we shall get into in more detail at another time. It was simple, though. Chaos could infect the mechanical as much as the biological. Of course, scrap code and other issues had already been shown, but it was not bad to have a reminder. And so, it is often believed by some that the Men of Iron did not change, as I have already outlined. They state that the Men of Iron and all artificial intelligences of that period were more likely to have been corrupted by the dark gods of chaos. I mention this for completion, despite not agreeing with it at all. But, as every YouTuber ever has asked, what do you think? Give me your wild flights of fantasy or intricate interpretations of lore in the comments, of course. It is excellent reading, and I always learn something I did not know before. Side note over. Even today, in the 41st or 42nd millennium, depending on who you ask, there is a Man of Iron extant, a lone terror that haunts the void. In the Segmentum Pacificus, there is a black stone fortress, and one of the beings that has attempted to penetrate the secrets of that labyrinth is in fact one of the Men of Iron. For he is UR-025, and he has survived since those dark days all the way to the period of the grim darkness of the far future. A single AI that now passes itself off as a unit sent by the Adeptus Mechanicus. It is intelligent and self-aware enough to know of the danger it is in, if it were more bold, so it hides its identity from all. UR-025 has even claimed to have met the real Omnissiah, not the Emperor, it is clear to state, but the real one. And this could well be the Void Dragon, supposedly trapped in the catacombs of Mars. He travels alone, always on the hunt for others of his kind. Artificial intelligences. But of course, this leaves us with one huge question. What happens if he does find others? What if he does make contact and awaken an enclave of Men of Iron? What if they go back on the attack? The galaxy, as it is now, does not have the strength it did when the last war occurred.
Yeah, but we do have the
Forever
Necrons.
does the Milky Way galaxy get shorn of its power again and again. Forever cycling down into ignorance. So, if the Men of Iron resurge again,
Metal Man, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. So right now, the Tau exists with their AI purely because their souls are so insignificant that the Chaos Gods have not taken notice of them. The Chaos Gods don't care. But if the Men of Iron infected the AI of the Tau, the Tau are gone. Like, the Tau will not be able to stand against that. That is some huge shit.
who or what could possibly stop them? Let us hope that UR-025 is the last of his kind. Let us hope that, with every fiber in our being.
Grofal, what makes you think the writers will never go for that?
Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Tulu.
Plot armor. Nah, bro. It's clear the writers don't like AI. Otherwise, humanity would still have had AI. Nah, fam. The writers are gonna plunge the Tau into the Dark Ages by letting the Men of Iron reach out, because it would make an incredible story. It would make such a good book. The Rise of the Men of Iron. Can you imagine that? That would be sick. The Men of Iron might be done for Grofal, but if they can make contact with the AI of the Tau, they could get the AI of the Tau to basically create more Men of Iron, and the AI of the Tau would effectively become Men of Iron themselves, which means the galaxy will once again have a massive fight on their hands. And it would probably launch the Tau into a lot more of an important role within the Warhammer 40k universe. So, yeah. Oh my god, can you guys imagine? It will screw up Tau lore too much? Not necessarily. I mean, humanity was based on this for a long time, and it would be cool, because right now, the Tau is incredibly technologically advanced. Probably more so than almost any other culture. The AI would probably make the Tau story even more interesting. At least that's my opinion. Might be wrong, but that's my opinion. They have drones in their tabletop games, so yeah, they're part of the army. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The Men of Iron will probably shit on them. Moldavian Peasant, how you doing, bro? The conflict of the Men of Iron, Stone Gold, was one of the things they borrowed from the Dune universe. Specifically the Butlerian Jihad. I don't think they would change one of the foundations of the current 40k universe. Depends, right? I think ultimately what it depends on is what is the like, what do they need in terms of future story? Because that's ultimately what it boils down to. What will be the best next story? And, you know, how can you get there? French onion burger. Fuck. Why does that burger look so good? Just played a game this past Saturday. Felt good to roll dice. I've never played tabletop Warhammer. Huh. What?
Niam is a proposal for a city that's actually under construction to be housed entirely within a single 170 kilometer or 105 mile long line. But of course, a city can't just be contained within the strictest geometrical definition of a line, an infinitely long object with no width, depth, or curvature. Niam's other dimensions includes its width at 200 meters wide or 656
Niara,
feet.
how you doing?
That's about the width of a typical block here in Chicago. It's also 500 meters or 1,600 feet tall, and that's a bit taller than the Hancock Tower. And then it goes for 105 miles. That takes us all the way down here to a town called Hoopeston, Illinois. All this built volume is meant to house 9 million people, and that so happens to be about the same population as Chicago. Well, not the city of Chicago, rather the Chicago metropolitan area, which sprawls all the way into the neighboring states of Wisconsin and Indiana. About 9 million people live in this area, and it contains about 10,000 square miles or 26,000 square kilometers. That would be like taking the length of Niam and making an entire square out of it. That's the area, the Chicago metropolitan density that it would take to house the same amount of people that Niam proposes to do.
How are you
So
going
in
to
one
do
sense,
this?
the ambition of Niam is a welcome one, to take up less land than a sprawling city would take up. While I am certainly not advocating for this project, it's fraught with all sorts of problems. Innovation in the way that we think about cities and their design is urgently important. The world's population is expanding rapidly.
See, I don't
and
know.
Some argue
Like, I will just say, if you have humans so closely, densely stacked, isn't that going to create, like, incredible psychological problems? Because you are effectively going to stack humans in that, right? People are going to live on top of each other. And I think that would lead to just terrible outcomes.
that we can no longer just sit around and wait for cities to grow organically over long periods of time, like they always have. More importantly, now than ever, cities must be pre-planned and they need to be built quickly and efficiently. NEOM's chief advocate, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, claims that the new $500 billion city design is a reaction to the perception that today's global cities are not designed with people in mind. Since the Industrial Revolution, cities prioritized machines, cars, and factories over people. He also claimed if you have money, you should raise the bar and create something innovative and different. But a cursory look at the history and evolution of linear cities like NEOM quickly reveals that they aren't particularly new idea, and they are actually the epitome of urban design concepts that came out of the Industrial Revolution, despite claims otherwise. They are ultimately born from an attempt to rationalize urban planning and growth along transportation networks. Urban theorist Kevin Lynch went so far as to call linear cities the direct expression of machine values. They are the result of thinking of the city as a power station or an assembly line. To take the dehumanizing aspects of linear cities even further, NEOM looks like what Timothy Morton would call a hyperobject, which are things that are massively distributed, very large relative to humans, whether directly manufactured by humans or not. Other examples include some buildings like Pencil Towers in New York, but also abstract things like climate change or all the plastic in our oceans. Hyperobjects have a significant impact on us humans, and we struggle to understand them. We discover that we are stuck in them. In this way, NEOM as a hyperobject is a post-human architecture, a structure not designed for or even by humans really, but for and by objects much larger than us. In fact, NEOM's advocates claim that artificial intelligence will be the beating heart of the city. Artificial intelligence will be central to many of the city's operations, including the healthcare system, which NEOM bosses claim will add 10 years to a resident's life.
Yeah.
The entire city is a machine for incubating humans. According to Peter Trummer, hyperobjects occur when humans design buildings according to conditions that they themselves have created but seem to have lost control over, so these phenomena have gained a certain amount of autonomy. NEOM appears a lot like a vanity project, and it may be closer to, say, a Las Vegas casino or the Palm Island city than it is really viable urbanism. So judging it on, traditional urban planning principles might be more of a moot point.
It's not
But
just
I'm interested.
so CCS. It's not just Russia. China did the same thing. So basically, China had this idea shortly, like before things started to open up a little. Same way as Russia, where they basically would put everyone into these blocks, right? So everyone lives in a block, and then every block has access to a school, a library, a shopping center. So you effectively never have to leave your block. Everything you could ever need is in this block. Now, that sounds good on paper. But again, we almost always come back to this idea of when you decide what is good for people, or when you decide what people need, that's almost always going to fall short of what people actually need. Because it's easy to say, well, human beings will be happy if they have food, if they have housing, and if they have clothes to wear. Sure, but you're only taking care of humans' basic needs. You haven't started to touch on, like, what humans need in order to actually be happy. And the problem with that argument is that's going to be different for everyone. So you could say, for example, well, humans need music in order to be happy. Well, not all people like music. Not all people need music in order to be happy. Some people might need theater to be happy. But not all people will need theater. Some people will find theater incredibly boring. So you're going to have to build a music hall, but then also build a theater, so that you can take care of both those groups. But what about the people that don't like music or theater, but they do like movies? So now we need to get a movie theater as well, right? What about the person that they don't care about any of that, but they do like a nice evening out with their friends and family to a nice restaurant, so we need to put restaurants up. But not everyone likes the same restaurants, or which restaurants should we start putting up? Are we going to take care of all of that? It's impossible. This is again where we come to the, if you let people react to what people need, it gets to go a lot smoother. Because I will open a restaurant because I think that most people would like this restaurant. And if most people like the restaurant is successful. If they don't, the restaurant goes bankrupt. I have choice because there's multiple restaurants offering things that I might want. The issue with government doing it is they don't know what people want, nor will they allow something to go bankrupt. So if you have a restaurant that sells beans on toast and you don't like beans on toast, well, tough luck. The restaurant sells beans on toast. And this is what you get when you go to the restaurant is beans on toast. End of discussion.
Interested in how cities are designed from scratch. And the question remains, why don't we build lined cities? Well, I think reason number one is what we just talked about, because they're not made by or for people. Historically, they are the result of designing a city like you would a machine. At first glance, linear cities seem like a great option. They offer the promise of efficient transportation networks, reduced reliance on cars, and the ability to house a larger population within a smaller land area. However, despite their potential advantages, we don't have a lot of linear cities strung across the globe. But that doesn't mean there's a lack of proposals out there or that they don't exist at all. For instance, the very first linear city concept was a plan for the expansion of Madrid by Arturo Soria y Mata in the late 19th century. This design was about 400 meters wide. It's about double Neom. It has ribbons of buildings on either side of the central avenue for cars and a train. This artery would also carry other services like sewage and electricity. The design would cut through the countryside, putting people closer to nature and encouraging agriculture. And the lack of intersections would reduce congestion and improve traffic flow. It would also be easier to provide public transportation, as the linear layout would allow for the creation of dedicated lanes to mass transit. The entire proposal was for a total of 50 kilometers in length, but only 5 kilometers was built. The idea was, as the city expanded, additional sectors would be added to the end of each band so that the city would become ever longer without growing any wider. Well, this sounds pretty radical, and it was at the time. When you look at the area that was developed according to these principles as it looks today, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find the original line. It's here. Its camouflage within the greater city around it indicates a couple things to me. Firstly, we kind of already have important linear streets and corridors in all of our cities, and the implementation of Soria's design doesn't quite make it to the scale of something that we call a city today. Lines work well in cities, not as cities. But also, the city didn't really grow according to the linear mandate. The city consumed the linear part and absorbed the entire development within its larger fabric. That's one place where urban theorist Kevin Lynch's criticism of linear cities lies. This is also reason number two for why linear indoor cities don't work. They don't grow evenly. Lynch says, the supposed flexibility of the
Forgetting a few important things, you're inherently making everything further away as you have to travel further and further for new stuff being added on, and two, humans don't like living in stuff that's too ordered. Look at how cities in Europe organically grew with little alleys and cul-de-sacs, etc., as that's what's desirable. I think so. I think I agree with both of those statements, and I agree with you, like, ignoring a couple of things, right? Because there's more to it than that. But yeah, ultimately you could say, well, we only need one train station now because it's only one line and people can get on the train and they can get off the train. So we have one line going back and forth, one train that takes people back and forth. Yes, but your city is 155 miles long, which means if I need to go to the other side of the city, that's a day out, right? I'm going for the whole fucking day. I'm traveling quite far in order to get from one side to the other. It's ridiculous. I've also seen like proposals for circular cities. So there's these proposals where you build cities outward in circles and everything's also nicely ordered. They all run into the exact same fucking problem. Human beings are crazy, but also we're not the most ordered beings, and too much order tends to lead to unhappiness in droves. of the Great Fire of London 1666, so many buildings were destroyed that completely new urban plans for London were drawn up and proposed. Grid systems, spokes of the wheel with commonly laid out sectors, etc. In the end, everyone just agreed to build it back higgledy-piggledy like it was originally because that's how they preferred. Well, there you go. The thing is, you're never... But this is where we talk about that, you know, here you have a leader, a prince, that has an idea because he thinks, I'm the prince, I have good ideas. And the idea does not take into account what normal people want and the way that normal people want it. You know, this idea that you're going to build houses for everyone. Not every house will make every human being happy. The Soviet Union and the Chinese found this out the hard way. Because if you lived in the Soviet Union, your house looked the same as every other house. Because the idea was that people need to be outside. People don't need to be inside. You sleep inside, you go outside for everything else. But so much of what we do in order to make ourselves happy. And a house is part of that, right? The way you build your house, the way you choose your house. I, for example, like small places. I like houses that are small. They're sort of tightly packed. Because I don't like massive open spaces. I don't see the point to them. They kind of make me feel uncomfortable. So, but there's people that feel claustrophobic if they were to live in a very small house that is compact and, you know, don't have a lot of space because they need the more open space. Otherwise, their minds just go fucking nuts about that. There's never going to be a good way of planning human beings.
Linear form is chimerical, since change without displacement can only occur at the remote ends of the line, or right angles to it. That all destroys the linearity. Thus, one activity cannot grow faster than another, unless its neighbor declines with equal speed. It is in fact very difficult to keep development from accreting along the edges, which are so close to good access. Nevertheless, linear cities inspired all kinds of modern thinkers and designers across the globe, people like Le Corbusier even. This passion also made its way to Russia, with people developing radically new socialist cities like Mikhail Akhtitovich and Nikolai Alexandrovich Milyutin, who developed the Strip City. You also have Ivan Leonidov's proposal for the town of Magnitogorsk. In the central strip of the design of this city are the residential buildings, glass towers, alternated to low-rise structures located in the green belt, all detached from one another in order to provide the maximum access to air and light. All of these examples are like normal cities with buildings separated by spaces just arranged within a single
Yeah, look
line.
at that shit.
And this is how the original Neom design started, before it was proposed as a giant structure. But pooling everything into a big linear building isn't particularly new either, with the earliest examples being a proposal to stretch across the entire United States with a single building in 1910. It was called Road Town, and was the dream of Edgar Chambliss. The goal was for this city to span from New York City to San Francisco. One single line, the width of an average
Jesus.
house, stretching across the entire country.
Alden, thank you very much, dude. Really
This
appreciate
idea was
that.
so influential at the time that Thomas Edison donated his patent for single-pour concrete houses as a method to be able to construct, and William H. Boyles donated his patent for monorail design. But this brings us to the next criticism that's levied toward linear cities, and that's the diminishing return on efficient movement. Road Town is like a highway, and to keep things moving, you can't have too many stops along the way, or it'll slow everything down. So you end up needing to have different networks dedicated to local traffic versus the high-speed ones. While the entire city is arranged for that one
Jesus, that's a
line
lot
of
of
efficient
roads.
movement, actual movement is always so linear. While Road Town was a dream for a new city design, many others have been proposed as pragmatic solutions to existing conditions. A good example of this is the Linear City project by Peter Eisenman and Michael Graves. Their proposal was to connect various cities on the west coast of the United States with parallel strips, one of them for industry and the other for housing, offices, and stores. All of these proposals lack urban center.
Not quite, Avedon. I think a lot of those spaghetti roads is because Americans don't seem to understand that cities don't need millions upon millions of people in them. Right? That is what I think the problem is. You know, you have places in America that has so many millions of people living in that one area that even if you had a roundabout, it would be a nightmare, right? Not even a roundabout would be able to solve that traffic nightmare.
Instead, they rely on pre-existing cities to be able to provide them. This is our next reason for why linear cities don't work. Urban centers are important psychologically, and urban cities don't have them. To be in a city without a center makes us feel lost and uncomfortable. Linear cities started to really fall out of favor and were the subject of intense criticisms during the 1970s, and some of these criticisms came in the form of mock proposals, which were dystopian visions, clearly disguised as beautiful images. This is Superstudio's Continuous Monument, represented as enigmatic collages of gleaming structures set in contrast to the colors and textures of the real world. The Continuous Monument was a vast, hypothetical structure that was meant to stretch across the entire globe, encompassing all of humanity within its walls. The structure was made up of a series of interconnected modules that were designed to house all of the basic needs and functions of human society, such as housing, transportation, communication, and leisure. One of the key ideas
some
behind the
people are
Continuous
fucked.
Monument was the concept of the death of the object. Superstudio argued that the traditional focus on individual buildings and structures was limiting, and that architecture should instead be viewed as a continuous and interconnected system. Even the architect Rem Koolhaas got in on the action with his thesis project Involuntary Prisoners of Architecture. In his version, set in London, the straight linear layout of the
See, there's another problem that this city will almost definitely suffer from, and that's centralization. Centralization can be really good for some things, but when something goes wrong, centralization is the ultimate enemy. Because if all of you, South Africa is a good example of this, all of our electricity comes from one company that is controlled by the government, and no one else is allowed to provide electricity but this one company controlled by the government. Now, when everything goes well, that provides us with relatively cheap electricity. When things go well, when things used to go well, it was very cheap. It was the cheapest in the world, and it was abundant. But when something goes wrong, everything goes wrong. And suddenly you pay, like, it's one of the most expensive electricities in the world, and also there isn't enough of it. Because you have that single point of failure, and if that goes, everything else goes along with it. Whereas if you go more decentralized, you don't have that issue. Those issues do not exist. Take a city like Cape Town, for example. Cape Town is a very, very, very large city. Just in terms of land space, it takes up a lot of space. However, if you take water reservoirs, for example, the city is divided. The whole city doesn't run off of a single reservoir of water. In fact, I'm pretty sure the whole city doesn't even run off of a single source of water. So you can oftentimes have it where one part of the city will be without water because its reservoir broke or whatever, but the rest of the city will not be impacted at all. So in other words, they can actually, get water from other parts of the city to the part that is currently being affected. The same goes for electricity, things like this. Whereas if you have that one single city or that one line and everything is connected to it because it has to be, otherwise what's the point? If one thing goes wrong, the whole city goes wrong. And now you have a giant problem. Imagine, for example, on one of its highways, there's a car crash. Like a massive car crash that takes out 10, 20 cars. Suddenly, all of the city on the other side of that car crash comes to a halt immediately. There's no alternative roads. There's no alternative paths. Everyone is now waiting for that one car crash to be cleared up so that they can actually get on with their lives.
the city would mockingly fix the world's problems by trapping everyone inside of its grasp. One thing that I think this dystopian project illustrates is that linear cities offer residents almost no sense of choice. There are only two options for movement. They also limit choice in other ways as well. They require a high level of planning and coordination in order to be successful. They rely on the development of efficient transportation networks and the coordination of land use and zoning regulations. These types of projects can be a challenge to implement, to the point that it almost requires an authoritarian regime just to implement and control it.
Good thing
Kevin
it's
Lynch
Saudi
also
Arabia
continues to
thinking of it,
describe
hey
the
boys?
misguided nature of linear cities, the separations, the oversimplification, the pure aesthetics of the working machine seem cold and repellent if we imagine ourselves actually living in these ideal places. They are founded on a conception of the city which seems basically wrong.
True.
If you're into designing your own city, whether just a dream, a dystopia, or something to actually build, you'll need a website. And the first step is to get a domain name, perhaps with a cool extension like .cool or .fail. Hover is the place to start and register your domain. How awesome would it be to have linearcities.fail? Then you can get an email address with a domain to look all official, and you could be the mayor at linearcity.fail. Once you register your domain with Hover, you can connect it with just a few clicks using the Connect feature. It makes it super simple and intuitive. And if you do happen to have any questions along the way, Hover is actually the best-in-class customer support team. You're not dealing with some giant faceless corporation. While you might not be dreaming of cities, building your online brand has never been more important. Your online identity begins with your domain name, and Hover has over 400 extensions to choose from to help brand
Do
yourself
you guys
online.
have
I'm
Taco
assuming
Bell
that some
in
of
the
you are
UK?
designers. Given what we talk about here, you can actually use .design instead of using a generic .com or .biz. By using .design, you're actually telling everyone exactly what you do. New
Man, you
customers
guys are
can get
lucky.
even
We
an
don't have
additional
Taco Bell
10%
here.
off of any of the 400
At least
plus
I've never
domain
seen
extensions offered by going to hover.com/StuartHicks. Get your very own personal domain today. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy this other one about indoor cities and interior urbanisms. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps us out to deliver you bi-weekly videos on the built environment.
When there's a sandstorm, which poor bugger is having to clean the entire city. Fuck. Here we have Pizza Hut, but I've never seen one either. We have Pizza Hut in South Africa, and they're terrible. Like, absolutely fucking horrible. Like, not gonna lie, I think Pizza Hut might be the worst pizza in South Africa by a mile. I wouldn't buy a Pizza Hut pizza. There's so many better places, especially actually, to be fair, there's only one chain store, well, actually franchise store that I prefer, or that I like, not prefer, but that I like, and that's called Pizza Perfect. I don't, all the others are shit. I prefer like local places where it like mom and pop stores. We have one here called Pizzeria Familia, which is fucking brilliant. Their pizza might be some of the best pizza I've ever fucking had. The bread is shit. I would say their dough is shit, and their sauce is also kind of weird. Then Domino's, which is why it still exists. So Domino's is alright, or they were kind of good, but they're not the best. We have another one here called what's it called again? Cesius. What's like the it's like a massive fucking franchise store here in South Africa, pizza place. They have the weirdest pizzas. What's it called again? Like, I just can't get on the name, but everyone knows them. It's not Domino's. It's like they're even older than that. They were probably like one of the first chain stores here. Saw them just the other day. I think it's also with a D. You could probably just Google pizza places South Africa. It's bound to come up. Debonair's. There we go. Yes. Debonair's. I hate Debonair's. I can't stand Debonair's, by the way. I find Debonair's pizza just so bad, dude. Like, it... So they go apeshit with Debonair's. It all goes apeshit. Like, look at these pizzas. This is the kind of shit that they do. Which is, like, 3 layers of pizza with, like, different sauces inside, different cheeses on top. So, for example, they have this thing called a cheesy pepperoni, which is pepperoni, cheese, and then some kind of cheese sauce on top of it as well. So you just have these, like, and the cheese sauce ruins the pizza. It doesn't, I don't know. It does not taste good at all. But yeah, so we have the double stack, which is like literally 2 pizza bases with something like cheese, I think, inside of it. for the double stack. You have the crammed crust, which has a pork, cheese, sausage on the end of the crust. So it's literally like, that's actually not bad. But the crust itself is not bad. The pizza is still shit, but the crust is alright because it has this cheese sausage that runs all the way on the outside, which is not too terrible. Trying to see here. Okay, so here you have the crème decker, as you can see there. 2 layers of pizza with different shit on top. The triple decker, which is this one, where you have 3 layers with cheese on top and meaty things on the side. And then they have all these sauces. It's just a terrible thing because they stack so much shit on it. So look at the something meaty, for example, right? Let's go something meaty. So the something meaty has ham, pepperoni, bacon, ground beef, and barbecue sauce. Guess what this pizza tastes like? Take a guess. Tastes like nothing. That's what the something meaty tastes like. No, don't go meat pizza. I love meat. I love all of these things. You don't taste any of them. You don't taste ham. You don't taste pepperoni. You don't taste bacon. You don't taste ground beef. You taste a weird sort of amalgamation of all 4 of those. Like the flavors have just merged into one thing. And then you have this barbecue sauce that's just so overpowering because that pizza doesn't come with a tomato base. It comes with a barbecue sauce base. So, the other one that they have that I used to eat back when I didn't know what good pizza was. I don't know if they still have it, though. It was called, the Club, which is ham, bacon, chicken, and debonair sauce. Franco Manca. Sourdough pizzas. Oh shit, that sounds not too bad. I think I've had NY Slice before, CCS. I think I've had it before, by the way. In Pretoria. Sometimes less is more. Tammy Trader, I could not agree with you more, quite honestly. Thanks for the first time chat, by the way. But this is exactly it. When I have pizza, which isn't often, but when I do have pizza, give me cheese, pepperoni, tomato sauce, done. That's it. Just that is perfection. You don't need more than that because it's perfect. It all of the flavors complement one another. The pepperoni is really good, really like fatty. The cheese is good. The tomato sauce is good. Then you start fucking things onto it, right? And you go, oh, I'll add some mushrooms and some ham and maybe some jalapenos and some ground beef. And before you know it, you've lost what made the pizza special in the first place. Okay, so here we have, I love NY Slice or NY Slice Pizza or New York Slice Pizza. I've seen some of them in Pretoria. They're sort of like, I want to say they're huge, but they're very small. It's like small stores, and they usually just sell slices, like massive slices. You can get a normal pizza, but yeah, the slices are like the thing. I don't know if they. Okay, here's the menu. So in terms of menu, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, their menu is like super small. Like, look at that. This is the only thing. These are the only things they have on the menu. You have pepperoni, Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, buffalo chicken, Brooklyn, and Nolita. That's it. Those are the only pizzas you get. And it's about, how much is this for a slice? So the pizza itself is 50 centimeters long. How big is that for the American fam? Centimeters in inches, right? You guys do inches. So it's 19 inches. The pizza is about 1969 inches, thereabouts. And then in terms of price, it's about 36 rand to dollar. $2 for a slice. For a whole one, what did they charge there? Let's say 235. Let's go for the most expensive one, which is 235. So for a full pizza, 235, $13 for 19 inches, almost 20 inches. That's actually quite expensive, considering the fact that you can... Actually, that's super expensive. So if I go, say Pizza Perfect, right? So let's go for Pizza Perfect, because they actually have some of the best pizza from, like, franchises. Not mom-pop stores, but, like, you know, huge franchises. They have some of the best pizzas, in my opinion. What the fuck? Why do you want me to download the menu? I don't want to download the menu. I just need the menu. Oh, here we go. So, the one that I always get here is the... Wait, tell me they still have it. What the fuck? Classic. I think it's the classic pizza. Yeah, but here we go. So the pepperoni with Napolitana sauce. I don't know how the fuck to say that. But anyway, so it's 109 for a whole pizza. That works out to $6. Buy the full one. Food for a few days. So this is only 30 centimeters though. So yeah, 30 centimeters. Which in inches... it's 11 inches. But I mean, it's just $6. And they have, as far as I'm concerned, they have the best pizzas. A 12-inch pepperoni pizza from Domino's here in the UK is 18... Jesus. Dude, why? Wait, what looks good, Niara? Oh, yeah, but I mean, Texas food does look amazing. Yeah, $18 is too much. The most expensive pizza I've ever bought was... It was 145, so it was $8. That's the most expensive pizza I ever bought.
Carne asada, street-style tacos.
Taquera-style fajitas. Fajitas, beef ribs and salsa recipe. I can't watch this now because I have to go. My power's going off in a bit, and I have to drive still. I have to go to the shop before the power goes off, otherwise they can only help me tomorrow, and I don't want to go tomorrow. I need to do it today. So I apologize, guys. I'm hoping that they get to install the battery in the inverter this week so we can finally stop doing this shit. That's not worth a pizza. 10 to $12, maybe 13. Dude, I would not pay $13 for a pizza. It sounds crazy. Colcaccios. I have not tried Colcaccios. About $30, but it's quite a special. What makes it special, Alzen? Peter Lee, it's my absolute pleasure, bro. And thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate all of you. You know, hanging out, spending time with me. I apologize for the lack of, like, proper streaming. Believe me when I tell you guys, I can't wait to get back to, like, normal fucking streams. You know, where we do 6 to 7 hours of stream usually feels like a good amount of streaming for me. This bullshit of only being able to do like almost 4 hours just feels so wrong, man. I don't know why. It feels like we're only just getting started. and now we're leaving again. Like, what the fuck is the point of this? So yeah, I do apologize. I'll be back tomorrow, but let me just before I make promises, let me quickly check out what's my schedule like for tomorrow, because that's going to be important, right? Tomorrow I think is going to be tight, but so my power's going off now, and then tonight again. But tomorrow, so tomorrow I'm gonna be off from 12 until 2, and then again from 6 until 10. Fuck. Okay, so I'm gonna try and stream before 12, but I may actually only be able to stream after 2. And then even then, we're not gonna have a lot of time. But what time we do have, we'll stream a bit and hang out and maybe react to some stuff, maybe play some games. I don't know yet. I do apologize, guys. Hopefully this shit gets sorted soon. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for spending your afternoon, your morning, your evening with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Be kind to each other. Be good to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.